Lord of Mystery, The Return of the Stars Chapter 701 to 720. Don't worry, Audrey just shook her head slightly, her lips moved slightly, and sent this sentence into Furz's ears. But this is so strange. Furz trembled in her heart, and finally patiently continued to be a bystander. Soon, Furz looked at Hugh with sympathy. Hugh, who joined the conversation at the beginning, was still very passionate, speaking coherently, and even expressing his views in an orderly manner. Later, under the double attack of Susie and Catalia, she couldn't hold on after only a few rounds, and her eyes gradually became confused. Furz, take her Ms. Hugh out for some fresh air first. She doesn't look very mentally well, Susie said with a worried look. Furz was silent for a while, and then pulled Hugh away from this high-end meeting that he shouldn't have participated in temporarily. I'm not crazy, really, I'm still very sober. Hugh showed a silly smile to Furz. Miss Audrey, I'll leave Hugh to you. Audrey nodded, moved closer to Hugh, and whispered a few words to her, which made Hugh completely withdraw from the state just now. What a ghost. After regaining consciousness, Hugh stood up and looked at Susie and Catalia, who were still expressing their opinions with horror. Hugh, do you still want to join others in the chat? Hugh stood there for 2 seconds, then took Furz's hands and said seriously, Furz, I was wrong. Be good, it's good to know that you are wrong. Furz touched Hugh's head. Come, sit here. Okay. Hugh stayed obediently beside Furz. After watching for a while, Furz felt that the topic was getting more and more suspenseful, and said worriedly, Miss Audrey, is it really okay for them to do this? It's okay, Susie hasn't had such a happy chat with others for a long time. Audrey looked calm. She was used to Susie's weird remarks. In her opinion, Susie and the Hermit Lady were just the right match, and both sides were at about the same level. Half an hour later, Audrey spoke to end the conversation tonight. Susie, you should rest. You can't stay up late. Woof. Susie immediately ended the topic and showed an apologetic expression to Catalia. Wise lady, I'm glad we can have such an exchange tonight. It's also my honor. Catalia stood up and bowed slightly to show respect. Susie wagged her tail and returned to Audrey to lie quietly. Audrey touched Susie's head and smiled. Now, we can start discussing the Church of Storms. Miss Audrey, what do you think? Furz, Hugh, and Catalia looked at Audrey at the same time. At this time, Audrey really understood why Catalia had always believed that she would be the best temporary leader of the Tarot Club. It turned out that so many people who believed in herself had gathered around her without her realizing it. Leave the Sea King here. On the second day on Demir Island, Alger secretly came here from Tiana Island, accompanied by Leonard. Except for Emlyn the Moon, all the members of the Tarot Club have gathered here. Justice Audrey, Sequence 4 Manipulator. Hanged Man Alger, Sequence 4 Disaster Priest. Son Derek, Sequence 4 Darkless 1. Magician Furz, Sequence 5 Traveler. Judgment Hugh, Sequence 5 Punishment Knight. Star Leonard, Sequence 4 Night Watcher. Hermit Catalia, Sequence 4 Mystic. And Fantasy Dog Susie, Sequence 4 Manipulator. The main combat force of the Storm Church on Demir Island is a Sequence 3 Sea King and 2 Sequence 4 Disaster Priests. The sea is the gift of the storm to its believers, and it is also the tomb it chooses for its believers. That night, a nearly crazy storm broke out on the entire Demir Island, and the waves of the sea roared continuously, but in the end the storm gradually disappeared and was buried in the night. When the sun of the second day broke through the fog of the night, it also penetrated the black clouds gathered by the storm, revealing the blue sky. This was a battle without much suspense. Furz, Hugh, and Leonard were responsible for restraining the 2 Sequence 4 Disaster Priests, while Audrey and others joined forces to kill the Sequence 3 Sea King in the sea. During this period, the top leaders of the Storm Church wanted to come to the rescue, but were ambushed by several elders of the Silver City. With the cooperation of Audrey and others, another Sequence 3 Sea King was killed. The 2 Sequence 3 Sea Kings are already the absolute top leaders of the Storm Church. The strongest extraordinary person in the current Storm Church is only a Sequence 2 Angel. After this battle, the power of the Storm Church completely shrank and lost the idea of continuing to expand. Audrey and others ordered people to send the extraordinary characteristics of the 2 Sequence 3 Sea Kings back to the Storm Church, ending this storm. When everything calmed down, a travel gate emitting obvious space fluctuations appeared above the heads of Audrey and others. Before the people appeared, a familiar laugh came from the travel gate. Ha ha ha, it's Mr. Moon. Derek was very impressed by this laugh, and asked curiously, "Didn't Mr. Moon say that he couldn't come to participate in this event? Everyone has been waiting for a long time. As the savior of the Blood Clan, I naturally can't miss the first major action of the Tarot Club." Emlyn appeared from the travel gate, and then landed in front of Audrey and the others in an elegant posture. "Mr. Moon, did you fly all the way here by flapping your wings?" Derek asked in confusion. Furs and Zio couldn't help laughing. Little Sung's words were really hurtful, knowing that Mr. Moon hated the name of vampire the most. Sure enough, Emlyn, who wanted to pretend, was furious and caught Derek and started to speak. When he learned that the storm operation was over, Emlyn was stunned in place. Even in the face of Derek's deliberate provocation, he didn't come back to his senses. He made careful preparations and even gritted his teeth to accept the negative effects of not being able to get along with his beloved puppets for 2 months, just to not miss this Tarot Club operation. But he was still late. The storm had been dispelled, and his arrival was meaningless. "Mr. Moon, Mr. Moon." Derek shouted several times, and Emlyn gradually came back to his senses. The whole person was like an eggplant hit by frost, listless. "We thought you didn't have time to participate in this operation, so we solved the problem here in advance. We are really sorry," Alger said apologetically. Quote. Emlyn didn't say anything, but remained silent. "Mr. Moon, your travel gate is so cool. It's really an enviable ability," Derek complimented. Emlyn instantly became energetic again, waved the travel cane in his hand a few times, and began to tell Derek what the gift of the gods is. "Since this is a powerful seal, it must have a strong negative effect, right?" Furs, who is also good at the travel gate, asked curiously. Quote. Emlyn was silent and autistic again. "Well, this time it was the kind that couldn't be coaxed." "Did I say something wrong?" Furs looked at Hugh with a look of help. Hugh pulled Furs's sleeve and whispered, "It's better not to stimulate him anymore. He is already very pitiful." Quote. Emlyn opened his mouth, but in the end he said nothing. While all the members of the Tarot Club were here, Audrey and the others decided to stay on Demir Island for a few more days, just in time to discuss the future development of the Tarot Club and deepen the understanding between the members. 3 days later, the members of the Tarot Club set out on their own journeys. Only Emlyn said that he liked the scenery of the island and wanted to cultivate fields and plant crops here. Alger made a big move and gave Emlyn a large piece of flat land as a plantation. For Alger's generous behavior, Emlyn just smiled, planted for a week, and then quietly disappeared. "Susie, I'm about to finish digesting the manipulator potion." Audrey was in a good mood after leaving Demir Island. In this storm operation, she was equivalent to the organizer, which was very suitable for the role of the manipulator, which accelerated the digestion of her manipulator potion. "Audrey, are we going back?" Susie saw what Audrey was really thinking. "Susie, you are getting smarter now. Woof." Susie shook her tail proudly, then followed Audrey and returned to the suburban manor in the southern continent through the travel gate. On the second floor, Asta, who was reading a book in the study to kill time, glanced at the travel gate that appeared in the garden, put down the book, went to the window, and looked at Audrey and Susie who came out of the travel gate. "Woof woof woof," Susie shouted enthusiastically to Asta standing at the window, and Audrey smiled slightly and shook the exquisitely packaged gift box in her right hand. Hastur's figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Audrey naturally, smiling and saying, "Is this a gift specially prepared for me?" "No, it's for Sharon and Ashera." "You are so partial. Where are Sharon and Ashera?" "They just went out to deal with some things." In the evening, Hastur personally cooked a table of his specialty dishes for Audrey. During the time he lived in seclusion here, he practiced cooking most often, cooking all the delicacies he had tasted or heard of in the original world, and his cooking skills improved greatly. "No, I can't eat anymore. This is not elegant at all." Audrey resisted the temptation of delicious food with difficulty. She glanced at Asta who was trying to hold back a smile while enjoying the delicious food, and said in an annoyed manner, "Mr. Asta, you are not allowed to cook casually in the future. I also miss Miss Audrey's cooking skills." Audrey seemed to have thought of something, and her eyebrows slightly curved. "It just so happens that I have seen many local specialties on this trip, such as fried insects and spiders, and I have always wanted to let Mr. Asta taste them." Asta took a breath and said, "If so, it would be my luck." "Mr. Asta, then you are not allowed to waste food." Asta said with a serious face, "Miss Audrey, please show mercy." Audrey raised her chin slightly, thought for a while and said, I will think about it carefully. Susie, you also hope to taste the delicious food made by Miss Audrey, right? Woof. Susie trembled all over and hurried to the other corner to avoid being harmed by innocent people while eating dog food. After the chat, Asta and Audrey went to the garden for a walk hand in hand. Sharon likes to plant many flowers in the garden by herself, and Asta collects flower seeds from all over the world, basically covering all kinds. For this reason, the scale of the entire garden has expanded several times compared to before. Mr. Asta, is there anything new recently? It just happens that there is something related to your tarot club. Asta told Audrey about the time travelers who do not belong to this era. Are they really from the same era as Mr. Fool? Audrey asked in surprise. She had also heard of such a special group, and the members of the tarot club had mentioned this when they held a meeting before, but they had not yet had in-depth contact. They were liberated and descended by the Fool himself from the depths of the place where you held the tarot club. Is this the awakening trick left by Mr. Fool for himself? He just doesn't want these people to continue to live a dormant fate. Has Mr. Asta contacted them? Well, I have joined one of the interesting small groups. Asta's mouth corners raised, thinking of something fun. Intis, the curly-haired baboon research society held a meeting in a secluded manner again. Even though there was a secret room, a tragic voice could be vaguely heard. You, don't be so excited. In this mysterious world with extraordinary power, everything has its solution. Your problem may be properly handled in the future. Faced with Miss Frank's gentle consolation, Dadi, who had fallen silent from the wailing and screaming, now squatted in his seat, hugged his knees with his hands, and buried his head deeply in them. It was like a wall of nuts standing there. Robert showed a face of fear and lingering fear. For the first time, he was glad that he chose the path of the generalist. It's too dangerous. It's too weird. When the assassin path is promoted to a sequence 7 witch, it will forcibly change gender and become a real woman. For women, this is actually a good thing, because it will greatly enhance their appearance and charm. Being able to raise the passing line of appearance and figure to a level above 80 points is an extraordinary way that many women dream of. But such a change and gift is definitely the most cruel torture for a man, especially a sturdy and masculine man. Of course, it is not ruled out that some male compatriots are willing to accept it. After a long time, the sound of the earth shaking only seeped out from the knees little by little. I only like to play female roles in the virtual online world, but I have never thought of becoming a Thai ladyboy. This, Miss Frank said apologetically, I didn't know at first that this assassin's path would be so terrifying. When I think about the day when I will become a girl, wear women's clothes, put on lipstick, speak like a girl, and be looked at by men with hot and malicious eyes. Daddy shuddered and couldn't say anything. Frank really didn't know how to comfort Daddy at this moment, so he could only look at Robert, Russell, and Claude for help. Robert opened his mouth, but still closed it. If he thought about it from another perspective, if he knew that he would become a witch in the future and change his gender by force, he would definitely collapse. After watching the lively scene for a long time, Russell chuckled and said, "You don't have to be so pessimistic. Just think of this world as a virtual world, and you are just a lucky player. Trying to be a girl is also a fresh experience, a new life, and it is worth our coming to this world. Relax, I heard that all witches are very beautiful. Have you ever thought that one day you will have a face that is better than Fan Bingbing, Lu Yifei, and Gao Yuan? Daddy trembled, and then buried his head deeper. He had imagined changing his face, but he preferred others to call him Yanzu. If it was Peng Yuyan, it would not be unacceptable. Do you think that existences like gods have gender distinctions? Claude opened his mouth and threw out a topic that made people think. It shouldn't be. Gods are originally formless, and formlessness means thousands of forms. They are a more noble existence, and they should not and will not be limited to gender. Miss Frank said thoughtfully. Robert also interrupted, just like Guanyin Bodhisattva, although her image in many movies and TV dramas is female, she also has a male incarnation, neither male nor female, neither human nor monster. This statement is indeed interesting, and for gods with supernatural powers far beyond the imagination of mortals, changing from male to female is just a matter of thought, and the body is just a station for the soul. That's right, as long as you are promoted to a higher sequence and have stronger power, changing from male to female is just a small matter. With Miss Frank and Robert singing in unison, the earth slowly raised his head and showed a hopeful look. Really? Miss Frank and Robert hurriedly affirmed. Russell laughed in his heart. It is indeed very simple for a high-sequence being to change from male to female. But wearing women's clothes will become addictive, let alone becoming a real woman. This is also the terrible part of the witch's extraordinary path. No matter how much you hate becoming a witch in the past, you will enjoy the joy of becoming a witch later. Humanity, rationality, and desire are crawling in the constantly twisted abyss. Ahem, let's start today's official topic. After temporarily solving the problem of the Earth, Miss Frank didn't want to continue the previous topic, so she quickly changed the topic. This matter is closely related to all of us travelers. Miss Frank said solemnly, recently, I received a message that in addition to us, there are many travelers scattered everywhere. Some of them have exposed their identities. Major churches and secret organizations are looking for our traces everywhere. They call people like us travelers who do not belong to this era. As for how to deal with people like us, they each have different ways. They may accept us into their organizations, or they may directly imprison us and obtain the knowledge about the original world in our minds. Some will directly execute us. They think we are messengers of disaster. Fortunately, there is no too severe action from Intis at present, so we are not hiding like rats crossing the street. Miss Frank introduced the whole story and the danger of this matter in detail. Russell looked a little strange. The reason why Intis has not made any move is because he and the Steam Church have joined forces to suppress it. He was originally a time traveler, so he naturally would not persecute his compatriots. Making Intis a country that shelters time travelers is something he is working hard to promote. The mystical knowledge we can obtain at present is really limited. I think we may need to join some more friendly churches and secret organizations to obtain more secret and advanced knowledge from them, so that we can grow quickly. Robert made his own suggestion. This is indeed a serious problem. Miss Frank nodded in agreement. She had also thought about this problem. At present, the members of their Curly Baboon Research Society are all stuck at the level of Sequence 9, and it is difficult to obtain Sequence 8 and higher sequence potion formulas and extraordinary materials. If you really want to join a church or secret organization, it is best to choose according to the extraordinary path you have chosen. Russell specifically pointed out, this is a good idea. Miss Frank's eyes lit up. Then am I suitable to join the Steam Church? Robert was a little reluctant. Russell chuckled, in Intis, the Steam Church is always your best choice. Of course, you can also try to contact Roger Gustav, the governor. I'll try hard. Oh, I wish you success. Russell smiled. Do you know anything about the secret organization of the Moss Ascetic Order? It's okay. Just barely. Can't you give me a definite answer? Miss Frank looked at Russell and Claude, who always liked to talk halfway. Claude said calmly, the current leader of the Moss Ascetic Order is very good, and it is said that he has some connection with Emperor Russell. I heard that she is a mysterious queen who travels across the sea and is a big figure in the world of mysticism. She has a good reputation. Russell silently replied, is that so? Then I will try my best to contact this secret organization and strive to become a member of the Moss Ascetic Order. Miss Frank also made her own choice. I don't want to join a perverted organization like the witch cult. Daddy was very determined. Russell glanced at him and said seriously, you shouldn't be so repulsive. Think about it, it's an organization full of people who suffer. There are people who suffer the same fate as you. You will have a common language and can comfort each other's spiritual scars. If you really hate this organization, you should join them to understand them. When you have enough power, you can subvert the entire witch sect. This is the best revenge for this twisted, chaotic and corrupt organization. The persuasive words made Daddy hesitate, and Miss Frank and Robert on the side were also persuaded. Only Claude looked at Russell deeply, but did not say anything to stop him. Life is a road of constantly facing choices, and there is no need to deliberately interfere with the fate of others. Can I really do it? Daddy was already moved. Maybe you should really try it. Isn't there such a saying, knowing that there are tigers in the mountain, you will go to the Tiger Mountain? Daddy hesitated and struggled for a long time, and finally chose to accept his fate. I will join the Steam Church, which will make it easier for me to act in Intis, and at the same time, I can get information for our entire Curly Baboon Research Society. Russell chose the Steam Church. Claude, what about you? Which organization do you want? Miss Frank looked at Claude, who had not yet expressed his opinion. I haven't thought about this clearly, and fate has not yet given me any revelation about the future. So cool, Robert enviously said. A fortune teller is definitely the most suitable profession for the mysterious world. It really makes people look forward to what it will be like when a fortune teller reaches the high sequence. Hee, talking in a mysterious way, looking like he deserves a beating. Only Russell disagreed with this. After chatting for a while, Miss Frank suddenly mentioned, "Have you ever thought about joining the Mysterious Tarot Club and the Church of the Stars? As far as I know, there is such a saying in the mysterious world that the future belongs to the era of the stars. Obviously, the Church of the Stars is the son of the current version." Such words attracted a discussion between Robert and Daddy, but Claude and Russell did not express their opinions. When Miss Frank looked at him inquiringly, Russell smiled and said, "The Church of the Stars is naturally good, but such a mysterious organization is not suitable for everyone, and most of their believers are active in the Kingdom of Lowen and the Kingdom of Star Sea." Claude glanced at Russell and said lightly, "I heard that the Church of the Stars adheres to a similar concept of teaching without distinction, and does not care which extraordinary path the believers are on." "Really?" Miss Frank's eyes brightened. "My pen pal Muggle, she is interested in joining the Church of the Stars, so she wants to ask me about the information about the Church of the Stars. If the Church of the Stars is really the son of the version at this stage, then for novices, this may be the best choice." Robert and Daddy agreed. "I have no opinion." Russell did not object, although from his personal point of view, he did not want the Traversers to join the Church of the Stars, because the stars were too mysterious and too difficult to spy on. "Then it's a happy decision." Miss Frank had already thought about how to reply to her Muggle pen pal. "There's one thing you must pay attention to. Recently, there have been many more beliefs in evil gods. They are symbols of depravity and evil, and are the enemies of all living things in this world." Russell warned seriously. Recently, he has discovered no less than 3 disasters caused by beliefs in evil gods. More importantly, he also found that the source of these beliefs in evil gods came from the starry sky. They are extending their tentacles in the darkness, reaching out to the desperate, helpless, greedy and degenerate people, leading them step by step into the abyss. What exactly is an evil god? An existence rejected by orthodox gods? Robert asked curiously. Tai Chi has one yin and one yang, and so do evil gods and righteous gods. One is in the chaotic evil camp, and the other is in the lawful neutral camp. Is there no lawful good camp? Kindness is also a luxury for gods. So that's it, Christian, you know a lot. This is the meaning of reading more. Russell raised his chin proudly. Bah, so shameless. Claude silently complained in his heart. After returning to his mansion, Russell restored his original appearance and stayed in his study, continuing to revise the new policy he was about to promulgate. He wanted to invite all persecuted time travelers to come to Intis and make the Republic of Intis their refuge. In this way, he could not only protect his compatriots, but also bring into play the expertise of time travelers and let them help promote the progress of modern science. Maybe he could really build Gundam and spaceships before the end of the world. A few days later, Russell issued a national policy in the name of Roger Gustav, the highest governor of the Republic of Intis. Allow all travelers who do not belong to this era to settle in Intis, and guarantee that they will be treated equally and provide them with necessary shelter to protect them from persecution. Such an open practice instantly set off the entire territory of Intis, especially ordinary people, who did not understand the meaning of travelers who do not belong to this era. The official agency explained that this is a special talent introduction policy. This wave quickly spread to other kingdoms. The Kingdom of Lowen and the Kingdom of Shanghai reacted the fastest and also issued similar national policies. Such a move to grab talents has reversed the current dangerous situation of the travelers. At the same time, Robert successfully contacted Roger Gustav and became Roger Gustav's think tank at his invitation. This made many people speculate that Roger Gustav's sudden issuance of such a national policy had a deep relationship with Robert, the think tank who suddenly appeared beside him. Seeing that the situation was developing in the direction he expected, Russell was in a good mood. This was also considered that he had done his part for his fellow countrymen. "Mr. Consul, why did you issue such a national policy?" Robert asked curiously. "Dare to take the lead in protecting the time travelers in the name of the country, such a decision is really too bold." "Mr. Robert, this matter is related to you." "It's related to me." Robert was confused. "At the party where we first met, you were drunk and told me that you were a time traveler. You also suggested that all time travelers who did not belong to this era should be protected, saying that they could give generous rewards to the entire Intis Republic." Quote. Robert was even more confused, and said blankly, "Did I really say that?" "Of course, you were drunk at that time, so you can't remember it clearly." Quote. Robert was silent, and finally could only sigh, "Drinking is really a waste of time. Quit drinking from today." Russell smiled at him, "There is another thing you need to deal with now." "What is it?" "After the national policy of protecting travelers who do not belong to this era is promulgated, many talents will definitely choose to settle in the Republic of Intis. We need a way to distinguish whether they are really travelers." After Russell finished speaking, he hinted to Robert that he could distinguish travelers from natives through examinations. "Mr. Archon, you can leave this matter to me with confidence. I will definitely solve this trouble for you perfectly." "Well, Robert, you are worthy of being my most trusted think tank." Russell smiled. With a simple-minded traveler by his side, it was much easier to do things. Soon, Robert submitted to Russell a test paper that could distinguish natives from travelers. Russell read it silently and praised Robert for being a talent in his heart. Because of being a generalist, Robert has a more solid grasp of the knowledge of his previous life. This test paper of his traveler is roughly divided into 3 aspects: mathematics, literature, and general knowledge. In mathematics, he set up 2-digit or 3-digit multiplication, division, addition and subtraction, as well as the code of looking at quadrants with symbols and some other basic math problems. Probably, if you have a junior high school knowledge reserve, you can answer all the questions. In literature, he used many basic literary questions, such as simple poetry recitations such as Wa Shaw's Quiet Night Thoughts, and Looking at the Waterfall of Mount Lu, plus knowledge of foreign classics, such as the relationship between Dumas and Dumas, the authors of Notre Dame de Paris, War and Peace, Jane Eyre, etc. General knowledge is more complicated, involving the whole world, such as the first country to land on the moon, the world's highest mountain, the world's largest lake. From international knowledge to celebrity anecdotes, life tips, etc. In order to make it easier for time travelers to understand, it is specially translated into 3 languages: Intis, Ancient Fesic, and Hermes. You did a good job on this matter, but why do these questions look so strange? That is the knowledge of the world of travelers, which is naturally different from this world. This is also the key to distinguishing travelers from natives. Russell nodded, then gave orders and asked Robert to go as the chief examiner. About a month, Intis received dozens of applications from suspected travelers seeking asylum in Intis. Robert took office and served as the chief examiner of the first traveler exam. Quiet. Robert signaled the traveler candidates in the examination room to be quiet, and then continued, "If you are really travelers who do not belong to this era, then you must be familiar with the form of the exam. Now, you sit in your seats according to your candidate numbers and prepare to take the exam. This is a paper with a total score of 100 points. You must score at least 40 points to pass. This is already very considerate of your knowledge reserves. Now, start distributing the test papers. You have 2 hours to answer the questions, which is plenty of time." Robert sat alone in front of all the candidates, trying to control his expression so as not to show an obvious smile. Thinking back then, he had also taken the college entrance examination. At that time, he was thinking about how great it would be if he could become a teacher or an invigilator one day, and watch the students answer the questions seriously. Now the dream has come true. "I hope there are more travelers from China," Robert said in his heart. He had a little idea. There were 40 points of knowledge about China in it, which means that the foreign friends got a 60-point paper at the beginning. This was his little trick to better screen out the travelers from China. As for those travelers who did not get more than 40 points in the exam, he would judge their true identities based on their answers, and then let them pass the exam as appropriate. 2 hours later, Robert ordered the papers to be collected, and then brought these dozens of papers to Russell. Russell asked Robert to start correcting the papers. He took the time to look at a few papers and felt a little sorry. Among this batch of travelers, there were not many from China, but more from Europe and the United States. When the time comes, pack them and send them to the goddess of night, so that she can also comfort her homesickness," Russell said in his heart. After Robert corrected the test paper and identified the identity of the time traveler, Russell asked Robert to temporarily handle the time traveler's affairs and built a Juxian pavilion in advance so that the time traveler could have a shelter. Under Russell's instruction and guidance, the time travelers protected by Intis began to devote themselves to the era of building the electrical age. According to Russell's own estimation, It should only take a few years to solve the various invention problems of generators, electric lights, alkaline batteries, trams, power stations, etc., and make the inventions come true. Steam, you owe me a big favor this time. If we cross from the steam age to the electrical age, what name should the steam guy be changed to? The god of electricity and machinery. Russell laughed when he thought of something interesting. In the kingdom of God within the initial barrier, the god of steam and machinery always looked at Intis. He could foresee that a new era had begun, an era based on electricity, a new future after crossing steam. Similarly, this is also a great progress of human civilization. It is a great help for him to digest the perfectionist potion in his body. It can even help him to go one step further, at least he will no longer be an imperfect sequence zero. That night, the god of steam and machinery sent down an oracle, asking the current pope of the steam church to actively cooperate with Russell's actions. On the other side, the kingdom of the goddess of night, originally a kingdom that belonged only to the night, is now half occupied by a dusk. The dusk and the night echo each other from a distance, and they get along very harmoniously. The goddess of night's eyes fell on Backlund, a female figure who prayed to her devoutly. This is a time traveler who does not belong to this era, and happens to be from the same country as her. The most coincidental thing is that he knew the other person in the original era. He was a colleague and a friend. Such a coincidence made him choose to pay attention silently, and guided her to join the church of the goddess of night through certain dreams, so that she could become his favorite. Excessive attention is sometimes not a good thing. The voice of the Earth Mother came. After his own kingdom of God was destroyed, he moved to the kingdom of the goddess of night to seek shelter. You don't understand the meaning of the word hometown to us. I really want to go to the era you once lived in. The goddess of night, wearing a complicated black dress, smiled gently and said, "You will be disappointed, because it was not a perfect era. There are also wars, conflicts between various classes, and irreconcilable contradictions there. The people living at the bottom are not much better than the poor in this era. Of course, in terms of material, our era is still relatively rich, with more choices and a higher level of civilization. Whether it is human or god, they always beautify everything in the past after losing it." The goddess of night talked about things in that era, and the Earth Mother listened quietly. Finally, the Earth Mother whispered, "You want to go down and take a look too?" He knew the night goddess very well and knew all her subtle mood changes. Stars, Will, and Russell, they have never left the real world. Maybe you should go down and take a look. The night goddess said seriously, "Perhaps we ourselves are the most solid and unbreakable anchor of faith." Stars era, the Earth Mother fell into deep thought. This is the true meaning of the Stars era. Maybe. The Earth Mother did not refute, but she did not think of descending to the real world. The night goddess swept the starry sky outside the initial barrier, which was still as bright as before, and made a decision in her heart. The Church of Light, the Wailing Abyss, the Ancient God Research Society, the Hunter Union, the Sukai Association, the Lost Kingdom, the Cthulhu Cult. Rosal looked at the various newly born secret organizations in the latest intelligence news and was surprised. It has only been a few years since the Stars era, and so many secret organizations have developed in the dark, and the existence behind each secret organization is mysterious and difficult to detect. Some secret organizations openly build churches in various places, recruit believers, and spread their beliefs. The Glorious Church, the Hunters Union, and the Sukai Association are among them. The Glorious Church believes in the gods representing light in the future, and has a strong hostility to darkness. As soon as it appears, it has a large number of believers, many of whom were once believers of the Eternal Sun. It is currently in a hostile relationship with the Eternal Sun Church. The Hunters Union, a secret organization that first appeared in the Fasak Empire. Its purpose is to create a comfortable hunting paradise for all extraordinary people who are eager to hunt. The Union often has various rewarding bounty missions. One of the missions is to assassinate Roger Gustav, the governor of Intis, with a bounty of 20 million fel gold. Compared with the name of the Hunters Union, it is more like an assassin organization. Sukai Association, a secret organization that inexplicably appeared in slums everywhere, providing both spiritual and physical comfort to the poor and suffering poor, actively doing good deeds, and helping more poor people. It is a secret organization that is widely praised in slums. At present, no evil and depraved behavior has been heard of in the organization. There are also secret organizations hidden in the depths of darkness. Only by stepping into the dark world can one be qualified to know their existence. The Howling Abyss, the Ancient God Research Society, the Lost Kingdom, are representatives of this type. What Russell is more interested in is the secret organization called the Cthulhu cult. With his hundreds of years of experience, he has never heard of the myths and legends about Cthulhu in this era. Cthulhu, this term should be a feature exclusive to their era, because in their era, the secret organization formed by Cthulhu believers was called the Cthulhu cult. The ultimate goal of this Cthulhu cult is to welcome the awakened Cthulhu. They believe that the great Cthulhu is sleeping in the city of Relaya on the bottom of the sea. When the stars come to the right position, the great Cthulhu will wake up from the city of Relaya on the bottom of the sea. Russell doesn't believe this is a coincidence. The person behind this secret organization must know the things of their era. Perhaps he extracted relevant memories from the minds of the travelers. If I remember correctly, Cthulhu and Hastur are great enemies. It's really interesting that such an organization suddenly appeared in the current era of stars. Russell laughed. Anyway, he was not the one who should be worried. He believed that the stars would target the Cthulhu cult earlier than him. After reading the intelligence, Russell set his sights on the bounty mission, assassinating Roger Gustav. You are really brave. You want to take my life for 20 million Falcons. It's too much to underestimate me. Russell thought for a while and felt that he should send people to infiltrate the secret organizations that have appeared in the open to explore the specific situation of these organizations. 5 days later, when Russell left the capital Trier to inspect a territory, he was suddenly assassinated. Although the assassination failed, it really made Russell angry for several days. After checking, he found that the assassin was from the Hunter Guild of the Faesac Empire. He accepted the bounty mission and came to assassinate himself. O great, supreme, loving Father worthy of all glory, your kindness is worthy of the loyalty of all living beings, and your beauty is enough to guide all believers along the path of light. Backland, dock area, a majestic church quietly appeared in the slums. In the prayer hall, all believers followed the priest here to pray devoutly. Amidst the voices of fatherly faith, the statue of the god in the prayer hall, as warm as a loving father, was glowing slightly, and gradually condensed into a huge and bloated illusory figure without anyone noticing. He sat cross-legged behind the statue, looking down at the believers below in a condescending manner. His eyes were so kind and kind. When the voice of prayer was at its loudest, the huge and bloated illusory figure opened its mouth and exhaled bursts of light green light, spreading out like layers of waves, evenly covering all the believers, and continuously sucking it out from their bodies. Disease, misfortune, hunger, weakness, and a series of negative effects. The Great Father is saving us. Praise the great and loving Father. The sound of prayers grew louder and louder like a wave. After about 10 minutes, the praying believers put away their excitement and piety, and left the place with a light face and a relaxed pace. When the prayer hall fell silent, a magical wishing lamp emitting golden light suddenly descended in front of the statue. With such a huge momentum, aren't you afraid of causing other beings to target you? The Jinn god chuckled and said, what if they label you as an evil god and siege you? How long can your clone last? I have not harmed any living beings. An ancient voice came from the statue, they believe in me, and I take away all kinds of unnecessary negative things from them. Although this is my food, they and so we were saved, it was a mutually beneficial transaction. The stars will not stop me from preaching. The Jinn god nodded, that's true, so compared to the Superstar Lord, the Declined King, and the Glory Hunter, you currently have the most believers. Oh, have you gone to see them? The Superstar Lord separated from the Mother Tree of Desire and founded the Church of Light, which is now attracting followers of the eternal blazing sun. The Declined King founded the Lost Kingdom, aiming to find the lost secrets of this world. However, he usually does not appear very often. He prefers to stay in the land abandoned by the gods and is busy studying how to break through the seal of the Lord of Mysteries. The Radiant Hunter had a lot of fun. He created a hunter's guild in the Fusac Empire. In the manner of a bounty hunter, anyone can go to the Hunter's Guild to post bounty tasks, turning the entire union into an assassin's guild. Quote, the Jinn god introduced in detail the latest situation of the Superstar Masters. These times are really lively. Perhaps this is the true meaning of the Age of Stars. For this sentence, Origin Father God also feels the same way. This world is quietly and silently brewing the final madness. Aren't you considering starting a church? I don't have that interest. The Jinn god curled his lips. He didn't have that interest in meeting the needs of believers. Gone. The jinn dispersed along with a golden light. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. At the same time, in the Church of the Stars, Pope Lady Lisa heard the oracle again. What kind of organization is the Cthulhu cult that deserves the gods to issue an oracle? Lady Lisa only thought about it for a moment, and then went to faithfully execute the oracle. That night, a piece of information about the Cthulhu cult was delivered to her desk. In a room illuminated only by the light of the starry sky, Lady Lisa bathed in the starlight and quietly flipped through the only 3 pages of Cthulhu cult information. The information mentioned that the Cthulhu cult was first discovered near Sonia Island. At first, it was a merchant ship that sailed there. Because of the storm, it deviated from its direction and accidentally came to an island that had not been discovered and developed. On this island lived a group of indigenous tribes who had obviously not been exposed to civilized society. They spoke words that did not belong to all known language systems. They were brutal by nature. There were originally 23 crew members alive on the merchant ship, but when they encountered the natives on the first day, they were killed and only 3 were left. One of them was the captain, one was the first mate, and the other was a pale young man who was usually weird. Although the crew had weapons such as pistols, the natives seemed to have some extraordinary ability to interfere with the mental state, making it difficult for their weapons to play their due effect. After being imprisoned for 4 or 5 days, on a full moon night with calm tides, the natives held a grand sacrifice, with more than 200 natives participating. What they sacrificed was a clay statue. At a glance, it was a life form that combined the characteristics of an octopus, a bat and a human. Its body was like a jelly covered with scales, with giant claws and teeth, and a pair of tattered and unformed small wings behind it. The poor first mate was unfortunately chosen as a sacrifice, and his head was chopped off by an aboriginal holding a stone machete. The blood looked particularly sad and beautiful under the moonlight. After offering human sacrifices, more than 200 aborigines divided into 2 circles, one inside and one outside, and began to call for prayers around the bonfire and the statue. The words they shouted could not be heard clearly, because they were not any existing language. If they had to be transliterated, Cthulhu and Relia were 2 words that they often mentioned that were relatively close. When the sacrifice was about to end, the captain tied to the wooden frame was also used as a sacrifice to be offered to the gods believed in by the aborigines. At this critical moment, the young man who was also tied to the wooden frame, with a trance and pale face, suddenly seemed to be possessed by evil spirits, swaying his body crazily, and finally broke through the restraints of the vines on his body and rushed madly to the mysterious statue in the center of the altar. When he held the statue high in the moonlight, all the aborigines around him seemed to be frightened, and they all knelt on the ground. Their trembling bodies and unclear sentences seemed to be communicating with an ancient existence, hoping that the great existence would not be angry with them because of such a change. The captain seized this opportunity and kicked down the aboriginal who was about to execute him. With the help of the bonfire, he endured the severe pain and burned the vines wrapped around his hands, thus regaining his freedom. When he completed this series of actions, the aboriginal who was executing him had been crawling on the ground, his face full of panic and fear, and he did not dare to make any other movements. Although the captain felt strange when he saw this scene, he did not have time to think so much. He came to the young man who was still holding the statue high and shouted at him to follow him and leave the island. The young man did not speak, but held the statue tightly with both hands and put it next to his right ear, as if he was listening carefully to something, and occasionally made a weird silly laugh. The captain had to pull the young man's shoulder with one hand and forcibly pulled him away, while the aboriginals still knelt on the ground, allowing them to leave freely. Arriving at the seaside, he drove the aboriginal fishing boat and quickly left the island. When the captain looked at the island after leaving it for a distance, he seemed to see a huge and bloated life form, entrenched on the island, hidden in the sea and layers of fog. Cthulhu. The young man who had been stupid and crazy suddenly spoke, pointing his right index finger to the depths of the sea, shouting another word in a voice similar to the roar of a beast, Relia. This is the earliest record of Cthulhu and Relia. As for the captain and the young man who left with the mysterious statue, what kind of follow-up and ending did they have? The intelligence never mentioned it again. After reading it, Mrs. Lisa read the story again, trying to find something, but in the end she didn't get anything. Today's Cthulhu cult has gradually become known to the outside world because it has begun to frequently appear in coastal areas. The believers of the Cthulhu cult do not shy away from their beliefs. What they believe in is the great existence called Cthulhu. As for Relaya, it is the underwater city where Cthulhu sleeps. It is said that if a person is lucky enough to enter the city of Relaya under the sea, he can obtain endless wealth and power. But the believers of the Cthulhu cult do not believe in this great existence for this reason. Their biggest goal is to welcome the awakening of Cthulhu. As for why they want to welcome the awakening of Cthulhu and what the purpose of doing so is, the intelligence did not mention it in detail, but only said that all the ultimate secrets pursued by the Cthulhu cult may be hidden in a book called the Book of Aben. In addition to these materials, the influence of the Cthulhu cult is also mentioned. It is said that the great existence Cthulhu will have a certain overlapping connection with a specific group of people through induction. In the dream, he will invite the spiritual inspirers to visit the underwater holy city of Relaya, or stimulate those spiritual inspirers to look at the world again with a different dimension of vision, and perhaps teach some taboo knowledge that does not belong to this world and should be heard. But when the dream ends, the spiritual inspirers will forget the memories in the dream, and some lucky ones can barely remember some fragments of the dream. But without exception, they all become crazy, because this should not be a world they can touch, beyond the knowledge they can understand, and tear their spiritual world into pieces. But there are also rumors that they will gain wisdom and understanding beyond ordinary people, and easily become painters and artists with rich imagination. Special talents. Half a month ago, a very special architectural painting appeared in Pritz Harbor. It was from an ancient relic deep in the sea. Unfortunately, the ancient underwater ruins in the painting are only the tip of the iceberg of the overall building, and people cannot get a glimpse of the true appearance of the underwater temple. There is also a mysterious incident surrounding that painting. When the painting appeared in front of everyone at the exhibition, that night, everyone who saw the painting dreamed of a mysterious sea ruins, but when they woke up, they could only vaguely remember that they had gone to the depths of the sea and saw an ancient mysterious ruins. The specific appearance of the ruins was different, and it was impossible to piece together a complete underwater holy city from the fragmented description. After that, a series of paintings about the ruins of the underwater holy city appeared on the market, which affected more people. Before the second round of dreams began to erupt, the Church of the Stars and the Church of the Goddess of Night joined forces to take away all the underwater paintings that would emit influence, and control all the people who claimed to have seen the underwater holy city in their dreams. So far, this underwater dream event has come to an end, and this is also the first event in which the Church of the Stars came into contact with Cthulhu and the holy city of Relaya. In the following days, a mysterious organization called the Cthulhu cult began to gradually appear in the vision of major organizations. Apart from promoting its own doctrines and recruiting believers, it did not make any other noise. As for the Book of Aben, the Cthulhu cult seemed to have been searching for it. 50 nautical miles east of Enmat Harbor, several small islands are embedded in the sea like eyes. As night falls, the waves slam against the reefs on the shore, pressing down layer by layer, as if to knock the entire island apart. After the rain, heavy rain fell from the thick clouds, with great momentum, and small holes were dotted on the sand pit. A single-story wooden hut quietly allowed the heavy rain to wash away the coconut trees in the sand pit. In the thick night, the dim light penetrating from the windows of the wooden house flickered and could be extinguished at any time. A middle-aged man with the vicissitudes of life, hunched over his once strong body, sat at a table with an oil lamp. In front of him stood a man in a black robe, with 2 scars on the corner of his right eye, like 2 traces engraved by the storm. "Captain, do you think that no one will find you if you hide on this uninhabited island? As long as you still hold that secret, someone will always follow its scent and find you. That is a taboo secret that cannot be told. You, me, and no one should explore its full appearance just for the sake of so-called curiosity." The vicissitudes of life in the middle-aged man grabbed his head with both hands, revealing an extremely painful look. "But you survived, which proves that the so-called taboo secret will not kill everyone. He may have some mercy on the world, so that people can go to the temple where he sleeps and receive his gift." "Survived? Hee, am I still alive?" The middle-aged man murmured, "I have long hoped to sleep in the ground forever, so as to obtain eternal peace. As long as you tell me the secret I want to know, I will give you eternal peace and stop you from being afraid of all kinds of nonsense." After a long time, the middle-aged man whispered, "What do you want to know? After you and the mentally ill young man left the island, where did the mysterious clay statue go?" "It has been lost in the depths of the sea." "You are lying. The man in black had a compelling look in his eyes. He seemed to have some extraordinary ability to distinguish truth from lies. It has been carried by the young man into the deep sea. Which sea area is it in? About 200 nautical miles southwest of Sonia Island. Why did the young man suddenly jump into the sea with the statue? He seemed to be manipulated or called by something, causing him to laugh crazily, and then he jumped into the sea from the boat with the unspeakable statue like crazy, and then he never came out again. The man in black pondered for a while. When the young man jumped into the sea, what changes occurred in the surrounding sea area? No, you are lying again. The man in black sneered. It seems that you need to learn to be honest first. Ah, the middle-aged man screamed and collapsed on the chair, as if his spirit was strongly whipped. You have one more chance to answer. The middle-aged man took a few deep breaths before he could speak. A huge black vortex appeared in the sea, completely engulfing his figure. What else? A blue mist permeated the surrounding sea surface, rendering the entire sea into a blue paradise. There must be other changes. The man in black got excited. I seem to see an ancient mysterious relic hidden in the deepest part of the huge vortex, but before I could take a closer look, the huge vortex swept away the blue mist and the possible underwater relics, and everything returned to normal. You should have heard something else, right? Faced with this question, the middle-aged man trembled all over, holding his arms tightly with both hands, as if he was enduring great fear. Even when his fingers cut his arm muscles and shed bright red blood, he was indifferent. Finally, his lips moved silently, his eyes dilated with fear. It is he who is calling me, calling us. Relia, Cthulhu, Relia, Cthulhu. The middle-aged man repeated it twice in a row, and then the whole person seemed to be drained of all strength. His face was pale, and he slumped against the chair, motionless, as if he had been dead for a long time. The underwater holy city of Relia really exists. It is there, he is there. The man in black could hardly control his joy and excitement. He clenched his hands and then let go. After repeating it several times, he gradually regained his previous calmness. He bowed to the middle-aged man and smiled. Captain, I want to thank you for telling me your secrets. You are a lucky man who has the honor to witness the miracle. You will always be lucky, because after tonight you will no longer have any worries and fears, and you will be completely at peace. I will keep this secret for you forever. He stood up slowly, and then with a condescending attitude, a smile appeared in his eyes. Okay, Captain, you should sink into the depths of the sea with your ship. What do you want to do? Secrets always emit an alluring fragrance, attracting good hunters to chase after them. If you want to end this chase, the best way is to make the secret disappear completely. The man in black patiently explained. You won't feel any pain, maybe for a short moment. Well, I promise, only that moment. You know, I have always known myself very accurately. Quote. The middle-aged man just looked at him without saying anything. After a long time, he nodded and said tiredly, I hope you can really give me eternal peace. I promise. When the man in black finished speaking these words, a bright light seemed to flash across the middle-aged man's throat, which was a transparent silk thread wrapped around his wrist. At this moment, the silk thread was dripping with bright blood, and under the dim light, the entire silk thread shone particularly brightly. Mr. Captain, I think I have fulfilled my promise. May you find eternal peace and no longer be afraid of carrying secrets. The man in black bowed again to the middle-aged man's body, and then prepared to leave. When he came to the door, he stopped and said to himself, Mr. Captain, should I erect a tombstone for you? Woolen cloth. Forget it, that will only bring you permanent noise. That's it, a person sleeping quietly on an unknown desert island. The man in black left in the heavy rain. He seemed to have a mission that he had to complete despite the heavy rain. But when he came to the coast, the docked ship had been hit by the huge waves and hit the rocks. It was smashed into pieces and could not be put back together. It seems I need to disturb Mr. Captain one more night. I hope he won't wake up from his slumber. The man in black returned along the original path. When he stepped into the small wooden house with the oil lamp lit again, he stood there blankly. Because he saw that the captain, who was supposed to be dead, was sitting next to the oil lamp intact, enjoying a bowl of steaming, milky white fish soup as if nothing had happened. Oh, sir, you really don't keep your word. The middle-aged man put down the bowl of fish soup and sighed. You said you would give me eternal peace, and I chose to believe you, but you still disturbed me again. My deep sleep. Quote. The man in black couldn't say a word. He was very sure that at that moment, the silk thread in his hand had definitely cut the throat of the person in front of him. There is absolutely no way a normal person is still alive. Breaking a promise will cost you accordingly. The middle-aged man had a kind smile on his face. The next moment, his neck suddenly stretched out, and at his throat, where the silk thread had originally cut it, strips of red and greasy tentacles stretched out from it like blood vessels. He tied up the man in black, pulled his neck back, opened his mouth, and ate it cleanly from top to bottom, bite after bite. Soon, there was a sound of chewing and a slight swallowing sound in the cabin. When the storm and heavy rain drifted into the wooden house from the window, under the dim light, the middle-aged man once again picked up the bowl of steaming fish soup and tasted it slowly. "We are Cthulhu in the sea, may your name be glorified, may your kingdom come, may your will be carried out in Relia, as in Ea Enras." The roaring waves are still washing the silent reefs, and the pious prayers that seem to come from ancient times penetrate all things that emit noise and spread clearly from the center of the island. In the center of the island, a group of believers wearing clay masks are bowing to a clay statue placed on a boulder. They are calling the great existence Cthulhu they believe in. They are praying that the way to the underwater holy city Relia can be opened earlier. Then, push the stone door where the great existence Cthulhu is sleeping, and then Cthulhu will wake up from his slumber and dominate the world again. The starry sky tonight is still bright, and the misty starlight falls, evenly falling on every believer. The clay statue that was originally accepting offerings and prayers exploded in the stunned and terrified eyes of the believers, without even a complete fragment left. This scene frightened the believers who were holding the sacrifice, and they all knelt down to worship and pray for the forgiveness of the gods. Everything was quiet, no blessings came, no punishment came, as if nothing had happened. In the Hall of Stars, Hasta just watched this scene quietly. He had long seen the existence of the Cthulhu cult, but he just asked Mrs. Lisa to deal with it. He didn't care much about what the cult wanted to do. Tonight, he just glanced at it and took a look. The clay statue that was directly broken became interesting to him. This proved that the great existence believed in by the Cthulhu cult could already emit a weak consciousness. After noticing his gaze, he decisively chose to self-destruct to avoid attracting his next investigation. "Asta, the old one, could it be you?" Asta whispered and cast his eyes to the starry sky. Since the last time they parted in the starry sky, he had not noticed the traces of Hasta, the old one, in the starry sky, and he didn't even sense a breath. The black devourer that was being nurtured also suddenly disappeared, disappearing directly from the starry sky. This is the real reason why Hasta did not allow the Black Devourer to attend the Star Conference. The appearance of the Cthulhu cult at present, the great existence behind the scenes is very likely to want to promote the concepts of the Old Ones and the Outer Gods to all living beings. When you know them, they will know you. If it is simply mentioned unconsciously, it will not have any effect. For example, the name Hasta, most people will simply think that this is a very ordinary name, will not have too many associations, and will not associate this name with the Old Ones Hasta. Because they don't understand what the Old Ones are, and don't know what Hasta represents, so it won't be a big deal. But if people clearly know that the name Hasta refers to the Old Ones Hasta, then there will be a corresponding connection between the two. Simply put, the clearer the relevant concepts are, the more likely they are to be affected. The Cthulhu cult may have been born because of this. In this regard, Hasta just let things evolve towards the future, without the idea of forcible intervention. Now, he is like a god overlooking the world. The longer he looks at this world, the less interested he is in intervening. When he was a child, he liked to squat down and pick up a stick to play with the weak and moving ants. When he grew up, he no longer had the interest to tease these tiny creatures that could blow away a group of them with one breath. Of course, if one day, the ants formed a complex, diverse and innovative pattern in the place where he could see, he might stop and watch for a while. Then, think about whether to destroy the pattern or let it continue to exist. His position has gradually returned to the neutral and lawful position, which is where the stars should be. Hasta retracted his gaze and continued to silently light up the dim stars in the sky in front of him. This is a long process that I don't know when it will reach the end. Still, not every star has an outer god living in the past, and lighting up these ordinary stars does not require much energy. After finishing all this, Hasta returned to a suburban manor in the southern continent. Walking out of the room, Susie was turning on the light in the study, thinking seriously about the knowledge in the book. The light worth mentioning is the latest technological invention from the Republic of Intis. Simple batteries and lights are not difficult for travelers from modern civilization. When Intis just started, Hasta made a set and slightly modified it to replace the lighting system of the entire manor with electric drive. In fact, he has a simpler way, which is to use solar energy to provide energy for the lighting system in the manor. For him who has partial power over the sun, it only takes a small spell to convert solar energy into electrical energy. But this idea was opposed by Audrey, saying that it is best not to use extraordinary abilities to interfere with real life, otherwise it will lack a sense of ritual and reality. Hasta did not disturb Susie, who was reading seriously, and came to Audrey's room. At this moment, Audrey was sitting at the table in front of the window, seemingly writing something. "Are you bothered by something again?" Hasta came behind Audrey. "I did encounter something recently, but I'm not sure about the specific reason." Audrey frowned slightly. Hasta just stood quietly behind Audrey and did not offer to help her solve the problem. Tarot Club, this is Audrey's career and her world. Without her permission, he did not want his will to interfere with the normal operation of her world. Recently, there seem to be many organizations targeting Tarot Club members. They have a strong purpose. Audrey seemed to be talking to herself. The members of those organizations seem to believe in a mysterious existence called Tianzun. Tianzun. Just by this title, Hasta thought of the Lord of Mystery, the Fusheng Xuanwang Tianzun. It should be that the Lord of Mystery awakened part of his consciousness and began to actively intervene in the real world. He wanted to shake the anchor of Klein's faith by solving Klein's believers, so that he could occupy a dominant position in this competition. In the past, Hasta would remind Audrey a little, but now, he just quietly let things develop. Even if the Lord of Mysteries gathers a large number of believers as a celestial being, even if he has the upper hand in the battle with Klein, he is still able to help Klein suppress the Lord of Mysteries' consciousness. There are still too few members in the Tarot Club. We need to recruit some new members. Audrey seemed to have made some kind of decision. Hasta gently stroked Audrey's soft and silky hair, and gathered the scattered strands of hair together again. "Mr. Hasta, hasn't Miss Sharon come back yet? She, like you, also wants to embark on a journey of her own." The doting words relieved Audrey's boredom a little. She held Hasta's hand with her backhand and smiled. "Mr. Hasta didn't seem to finish the fried spider tonight. Susie said it will take care of it." "Really? I'll go ask Susie. It's reading seriously, we shouldn't disturb it." Audrey wanted to say something, but Hasta picked her up by the waist. "It's late at night, it's time to rest." In a luxurious villa in the East District of the Republic of Intis, Miss Frank, who has been illuminated by electric lights, is writing a letter to a pen pal far away. Just 2 days ago, her Muggle pen pal wrote her a letter, in which she mentioned that she had joined the Church of the Stars and officially became a believer of the stars. "Dear Muggle, thank you for sharing this great joy with me at the first time. I also have the same joy to give you in return. I have also joined the Morse ascetic order and met the Queen of Stars, who is famous in the sea. I heard that there is a special creature called a messenger, which can be used to deliver letters, just like the owls in the Magic Academy." Miss Frank enthusiastically wrote about her experiences and gains during this period. Chapter 706 Muggle Aurora Lee. After paying the expensive fee, the written letter can be accurately delivered to every recipient through the developed postal lines of the Republic of Intis. Even in remote mountain villages, there will be 1 or 2 postmen responsible for the delivery of letters to several nearby villages. When Aurora Lee received the letter from Trier, it was already a week later. In a quiet little village, the orange-red roof was wrapped in the diffuse night. A figure sat in the center, hugging her knees and looking at the starry sky quietly. This is an extremely beautiful woman with long and thick blonde hair, light blue eyes, and bright features. At this time, her eyes were focused on the sky, looking at the twinkling little bit of brilliance. Her expression was quiet, like a statue. The starry sky is always so desirable. Whether in the past or now, it always looks at everything on this land from a perspective that overlooks everything. So, she likes the starry sky and the belief in the stars, and she joined the Church of the Stars as she wished. Although it was just a branch of the Church of the Stars in the town, she thought it was pretty good. Starry sky, which star will the earth be next to? Can the stars guide the way for those who have lost their hometowns and are lost? Yes, he is so kind, he will love his believers and will definitely protect me back to my hometown. Aurora Lee whispered a few words, praised the stars again, and her confused eyes gradually solidified. She was naturally not a native of this world, and even the name Aurora Lee was given to herself. She was born as Rosie Louise Sanson. Originally, she also wanted to accept this new identity and adapt to this world, but she didn't expect that her family were all believers of the evil god. She could only find a chance to escape and changed her name to Aurora Lee. Currently living is a famous writer of Novel Weekly. Many of them who do not belong to this era choose to earn their first pot of gold by writing novels. There is no way. Other simpler ways to make money have been done by Russell, a senior traverser, leaving them with only a few choices. Although writing novels is not the mainstream now, it can still make a living, at least for now. Aurora. One after another, the calls came from the stairs behind her. Aurora did not look back, but said lightly, "Call me sister." "Okay, Aurora." The man was about 17 or 18 years old, with a tall figure, slender limbs, short black hair, and a pair of light blue eyes. "Aurora, why do you look at the stars here every day? Haven't you seen enough?" The man sat beside Aurora while talking. "Lumion, you don't understand the meaning of the starry sky to me, and you don't understand what is in the starry sky." Aurora sighed, his expression darkened, and said, "A philosopher once said that there are only two things in this world that are worthy of awe. One is the morality in the heart, and the other is the starry sky above the head." The man called Lumion deliberately smiled and said, "I can answer this question. It was said by Emperor Russell." Puff. Aurora laughed out loud. "Isn't it? When you hear a very philosophical and high-class word, then you can be sure that it is what Emperor Russell once said." Lumion said very confidently. Aurora became interested. "What do you think of Emperor Russell?" "I haven't seen him. Maybe all the legends about him that have been passed down to later generations are fabricated." Lumion sighed and said, "Aurora, you are too naive. Call me sister." Aurora raised her slender fingers and tapped Lumion's head. Lumion smiled and nodded heavily. "I will, Aurora." Aurora laughed and shook her head, ignoring Lumion beside her, and continued to look up at the starry sky. "I met 3 strangers tonight, and they were very generous." Strangers. Seeing that Aurora seemed interested in this matter, Lumion exaggerated and described the little episode tonight carefully. "You shouldn't mess with the parish priest. But I hate him when I see him." Aurora stood up before Lumion finished speaking. "Okay, it's time to go to bed, my not-so-obedient brother." As she spoke, Aurora threw some silver dust and then flew up like a bird, slowly flying down from the roof and into the window on the 2nd floor. "Aurora, what about me? Climb down by yourself." Aurora's nonchalant voice came from the candlelit room. Lumion sighed. "One day, I will also master this extraordinary power." He liked a saying of Emperor Russell, "People always have dreams, what if they come true?" At night, Lumion had another dream, dreaming of the gray fog that never dissipated. The increasingly frequent dreams made him feel that something big might happen in the near future, although he didn't even know what the dreams meant. "Maybe I should find you a real hypnotist to see what's causing it." After learning that Lumion had that dream again, Aurora looked thoughtful. "Are you looking for help from your pen pal again? Why do you care so much? Why don't you think about how to solve your own problems first?" "I can't think of it," Lumion muttered. "If I can master extraordinary power, can I find out what the dream represents?" Lumion's eyes lit up, but soon dimmed again. "No, your most important task now is to read and study and prepare for the unified examination of colleges and universities in June." Lumion wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Aurora. After washing up, the two of them finished breakfast, and Aurora returned to her study. She thought about it for a while, and then started to write a letter to her pen pal. "Dear Owl, I have received your sincere invitation. I think I should also go to the metropolis to see the market, otherwise I will be eliminated by the time sooner or later. Before I go to Trier, I need to ask for your help. Do you know a real hypnotist? You know, I once took in a street boy and treated him as my younger brother. He has been having the same dream frequently recently. I am deeply worried about my inability to analyze and decipher the content of the dream and the enlightenment it seeks to bring. I think you must know many people in Trier, the most dazzling capital of Intis, who are capable of solving the troubles in my heart." After Aurora finished writing the letter, she put it in a drawer and waited for the postman to come to the village before mailing it. The postman only came once a week on Wednesdays. It's a long way to send letters from here to Trier, and the stamps are incredibly expensive. Fortunately, every time she delivers a letter, she chooses the pay-on-delivery method, letting her pen pal Owl pay for it. After all, her wealth is not rich at all, and she has to support a growing younger brother, so she is really struggling financially. Boom, boom, boom. Auror, Auror. Lumian's knocking and shouting sounded outside the door. Auror put away her things before opening the door and going out. What happened again? Or did you get into trouble again? Quote. Lumian's face fell. Auror, am I so unreliable in your eyes? When did you ever let me worry? Auror stared at Lumian. Lumian, who felt guilty, looked away and said, I'm just here to ask you what you want to eat at noon. Scrambled eggs with tomatoes. Auror replied casually. Okay, Auror, I think my cooking skills are much improved than before. While talking, Lumidian glanced at the study inadvertently before leaving to prepare lunch. Hypnotist. Miss Frank frowned after reading the contents of the letter. Although the curly-haired baboon research society she led has developed rapidly in recent years, it has not produced a Sequence 6 hypnotist, because few travelers choose to take the audience path. Moreover, the curly-haired baboon research society also lacks high-sequence audience potion formulas. Even she, one of the founders, only knows that the audience path Sequence 5 is Dreamwalker at most, and knows nothing about potion formulas and extraordinary materials. I believe that the Pure Boy and Wushank know more about this. It's almost time. Miss Frank stood up, glanced at the clock on the wall, took a black magic robe from the hanger, and then quietly left the room in the night. As the curly-haired baboon research society becomes stronger and stronger, and many secret organizations are eyeing travelers from Intis, Trier is now a mixed bag, and even a small gathering must be fully prepared. After climbing over the garden wall, bypassing the street, and turning several corners, Miss Frank finally arrived at the agreed location at the beginning. As for the manor gatherings in the past, they have been targeted and cannot be used in the short term. This is a basement that uses the hotel as a cover. When she arrived, the Pure Girl, the Earth, the Faceless Guest, the Mountain Man and 2 other new members who have passed the assessment and joined the Curly Baboon Research Society. As soon as Miss Frank sat down, Robert looked around at everyone and coughed lightly. I just got a message recently that our Curly Baboon Research Society has the same name as another secret organization. They also use the Curly Baboon Research Society as their organization name. I am currently contacting one of their members and trying to get in touch with their president through that member, and then have a conversation. Before that, I would like to ask everyone, what attitude should we maintain towards the other Curly Baboon Research Society? After Robert finished speaking, his eyes deliberately stayed on Russell. After all, it was Russell who specifically proposed the name of the Curly Baboon Research Society. There is nothing to say. If they tend to be lawful good, then let them join us. If they tend to be chaotic evil, then dismantle their skeletons and scatter their ashes by the way. Russell said easily. Wouldn't that be too radical? Robert said unnaturally. In the world of mysticism, every name has its own specific symbol. Although I chose the name of the Curly-Haired Baboon Research Society on a whim, not everyone can use the same level of secret organization name as me. Russell leaned back in his chair, curling his lips in disdain. But we don't have many members. If we provoke the other party and lose to them. Robert was interrupted by Russell before he finished speaking. If we really have to fight, you can leave it to me and Wushank. Are you okay? Russell raised his eyebrows and glanced at Claude. Yes. Claude nodded in agreement, which made Russell feel quite strange, but he didn't say anything. After discussing this matter, Robert mentioned some of the latest scientific research progress of the Republic of Intis, and then sat quietly in his seat. My Muggle pen pal recently wrote to me for help. She hopes that I can help her find a trustworthy hypnotist. Do you know anyone? Miss Frank asked her own question. Silence. No one answered. Frank's face darkened. Well, since no one knows, I'll think of a way myself. If your pen pal can come to Trier, I can help you with this. Russell said. Great, I'll write a letter and ask her to hurry to Trier. Miss Frank laughed happily. Hypnotist, I'm going to introduce you to a top psychiatrist. Russell smiled in his heart. He was impressed by Susie, the golden retriever next to Miss Audrey. He had exchanged letters with her to deepen his understanding. With its ability to be promoted to Sequence 3 Dreamweaver, it shouldn't be difficult to solve a small dream. It's just the right opportunity to invite it to Trier to play. I really miss the feeling of chatting with it. After a short party, Robert walked quickly through the alley and got on a carriage to leave. He didn't go home directly, but first found another member of the curly-haired baboon research society and asked him for relevant information. Like the curly-haired baboon research society they belong to, another curly-haired baboon research society also calls each other by code names, and does not reveal their real names. They usually communicate through letters, share knowledge with each other, solve problems, have small-scale gatherings at regular intervals, and also communicate through messengers. This curly-haired baboon research society has a president and 2 vice presidents. The president's code name is Gandalf, and the number of vice presidents is unknown. He only knows that the code names of 2 of them are Hela and Apollo. As for their real names and the extraordinary paths they are in, it is still blank. It is said that only the President Gandalf has the information of all members. Robert asked the member to convey his idea of communicating with the President Gandalf again, and then returned to the small villa prepared for him by Roger Gustav. 2 days later, Robert waited for news from another curly-haired baboon research society. The President Gandalf had no intention of communicating with him, nor did he mention the fact that the 2 curly-haired baboon research societies had the same name. He just asked the member to say that it was all fate. That's all. Tisk, I've already used courtesy before force. Let the innocent boy and Wushonk take care of the next thing. Robert knew that this was the other party's caution, but he was happy to relax. At the same time, there was a detailed information about another curly-haired baboon research society on Russel's study table. President Gandalf, the sequence path is unknown, suspected to be a research scholar, with extraordinary wisdom and infinite enthusiasm for mysticism. Vice President Hela, the Night Path, suspected to be a Sequence 5 spirit witch, currently a bishop of the Night Goddess Church. Vice President Apollo, the Sun Path, suspected to be a Sequence 5 priest of light, not a member of the Eternal Sun Church, suspected to have joined the Radiant Church. Vice President Nemesis, the Judgment Path, suspected to be a Sequence 5 punishment knight, currently active in the Kingdom of Fainaport. Vice President Ikaros, whose path sequence is unknown, rarely goes out, and it is unknown what he is looking for. Russell read the information roughly and secretly smacked his lips. Although Sequence 5 and Sequence 6 are not much stronger than ants for him, it has only been 6 years since Klein released the Travelers to this world. From the Travelers he has come into contact with, they basically started from scratch. Of course, it is not ruled out that some travelers have other extraordinary experiences when they come. But in 6 years, a secret organization with Sequence 5 as the core members was established. This speed is already very fast. Miss Frank, codenamed Owl, is currently a Sequence 6 Requiem Master, and is already the fastest promoted person in their Curly Baboon Research Society. President Gandalf must have an unknown identity or an unusual life experience. Should we go and find him ourselves? Russell whispered, and finally gave up this idea and let the other party continue to hide. Maybe he can give him a little surprise in the future. Let Wushonk, the old fox, handle it. Russell chuckled. Although he had not yet investigated Wushonk Claude's true identity, he roughly knew his origins. He was definitely a pseudonym of a big shot, just like himself. Soon, Russell handed over the problem of dealing with another curly-haired baboon research society to Claude. I always feel that it is better for us to be safe. Robert was a little worried. According to what he knew, there might be a Sequence 4 demigod in another curly-haired baboon research society. On their side, Miss Frank, who was promoted the fastest, was only Sequence 6. The overall strength gap between the two sides was too big. Wushonk, is it okay? Russell smiled and threw the question to Claude. Claude just nodded calmly and did not refuse anything. I look forward to the day when we sit down and communicate with President Gandalf. The smile on Russell's face was not concealed. I hope that both of us can live in harmony and move forward together in this world. Miss Frank is optimistic about the future. Robert was silent, and finally sighed alone. He had no idea where their confidence came from, especially the innocent boy and Wushonk. Are they really not afraid at all? Everyone, I think. Daddy stood up silently while everyone was discussing. He was interrupted by Robert before he finished speaking. Daddy, have you thought about it? Robert could hardly hide his excitement. ... Daddy closed his eyes, sighed, and nodded. That's great. I've always wanted to see what you would look like as a witch. As soon as he said that, Robert realized that he had said the wrong thing, and hurriedly waved his hand to make amends. I mean, you finally overcame your psychological fear and moved towards the future. This is a good start. After hesitating for so many years, he finally made up his mind to be promoted. It is really exciting. Russell smiled in his heart. Witnessing a majestic man promoted to a sequence 7 witch, the picture was definitely beautiful. How does the saying go? I'm not afraid of my brother driving a Land Rover, I'm afraid of my brother wearing women's clothes. Daddy, have you really thought about it? Miss Frank asked with a worried look on her face. I have been thinking about this for so many years. If I don't move forward, I will never be able to keep up with the pace of our research society, and I will live in fear and incompetence for the rest of my life. Daddy showed a deep helpless expression on his face. Perhaps this can open the door to a new world for you. Russell tried to speak in a calm tone. I hope so. To be promoted to a sequence 7 witch, the most important thing is to keep a stable mentality, and have a heart that is not afraid of worldly rumors and an unyielding will. Quote. If you can do not care about all the opinions of the outside world, then the promotion of witches will be a natural thing. Quote. Daddy just kept silent, and finally sat in his seat and sighed heavily, as if he accepted his life. Above the gray fog, the biweekly tarot club was held again. After Mr. Fool fell asleep, although the tarot club adopted a voting system, Miss Justice was vaguely the leader. Generally, no tarot club member would disagree with her suggestions. Today, the surging gray fog is a little unusual. After greeting people as usual, Audrey looked at the gray fog world outside the bronze long table. Since Mr. Fool fell asleep, there has been no obvious change in the gray fog world, but today, the gray fog has changed from thick smoke to catkins, and the speed of flow is much faster than before. And in the depths of the gray fog world, there seems to be a roar of thunder. It is indeed abnormal. Furs, who went to the spirit world in person and observed the dynamics of the gray fog above the spirit world, spoke. Perhaps this is a good omen, Mr. Fool may wake up. Catalia made a possible guess. I have the same premonition. Alger looked at the empty seat of Mr. Fool, with a pious and expectant expression. Mr. Fool has never failed our expectations, and I believe this time is the same. Derek said in a mature and low voice. Last July, the ancestor Lilith once sent down an oracle, saying that the Star Age is also the awakening age. Everything that has not really fallen and everything that may awaken will appear in this era. Emlyn said solemnly. Star Age. Shu's eyes subconsciously looked at Miss Audrey. In the past few years, the stars seem to be busy with something. Except for occasionally responding to the calls of believers, there has been no oracle. Although this is the era of the stars rarely really intervene in what happens in this era, and it seems that they don't care about all future developments. Even if the Star Church expands wildly in his name, secret organizations emerge everywhere, tearing the isolation zone between the mysterious world and the real world apart. He did not issue an oracle to stop it. Today, most people know the existence of extraordinary power in the mysterious world. The mysterious world and the real world are gradually merging together, even though they are originally one. When the members of the Tarot Club began to discuss, the catkin-like gray fog outside changed again. The gray fog was like the sea, pushing away the ripples that continued to spread, as if driven by some force. Mr. Fool, Klein, Leonard whispered as he looked at the place where the gray fog was fluctuating, my friend, are you finally going to wake up and come back? It was not until Klein fell into a deep sleep that he realized that his good friend in Tingen was actually the mysterious Mr. Fool. Over the years, he had tried to call Klein through the gold coin that Klein left him, but never got a response. But today, he could feel that the gold coin was emitting a faint light and heat in the real world, as if it was being baptized by some kind of power and was about to undergo a transformation. This means that Klein might be about to wake up. The gray fog outside did not disappoint the expectations of the Tarot Club. It began to roll and tear violently, like waves on the sea surging in all directions. When the gray fog fluctuated more and more strongly, a faint light, as if being pulled by something, gathered at the position that originally belonged to Mr. Fool. The light spot flickered, sometimes as big as a fist, sometimes as small as a sesame seed. The Tarot Club members came back to their senses and looked at the light spot at Mr. Fool's position, their eyes full of expectation. They suppressed their excitement and did not speak, so as not to disturb the small change in front of them. The light spot could not condense into a shadow in the end, but the Tarot Club members heard the voice of Mr. Fool for the first time in a long time. He is still sleeping, and this light spot is just a communication signal sent to the outside world when he wakes up. Long time no see, everyone. Whoever holds my gold coins will be accompanied by good luck. Be careful of Tianzun believers. After the light spot conveyed 3 brief sentences, it dissipated in an instant, and the chaotic gray fog outside gradually returned to calm. The short words lit up the hope that had been waiting for many years. Audrey was silent for a long time, and then took the lead to speak with a smile. Mr. Fool has begun to wake up from his slumber. This is the most worthy of celebration for the Tarot Society. This also indicates that the battle between him and Tianzun has reached a critical moment. Mr. Fool's special reminder this time must be because Tianzun has made some big moves recently. We need to find out and destroy anyone and anything related to Tianzun as soon as possible. As Audrey spoke, everyone in the Tarot Club gradually recovered from the joy of Mr. Fool's awakening. The followers of Tianzun are the eternal enemies of our Tarot Society, and they will fight to the death. A sharp look flashed in Alger's eyes. With the defeat and shrinkage of the Church of Storms, the faith of the Church of Poseidon rapidly expanded along the coast, and it vaguely resembled the original glory of the Church of Storms. A few years ago, various secret organizations suddenly had a group of betrayers. They seemed to be driven by some mysterious force. They defected from their original organizations at the same time, and then quickly gathered together in secret. Forsy's eyes flashed. With wisdom, the betrayers mainly take the 3 extraordinary paths of diviners, apprentices, and thieves. It can be seen that they must be influenced by the power of Tianzun and become disciples of Tianzun. Our people have had several conflicts with them, but we still haven't been able to find out where their leader and core members are hiding. Zio added. In recent years, although the Tarot Club has not added new members who have come to Grey Mist to participate in the Tarot Club, for various needs, 4 peripheral groups have been established to recruit certain members to cope with many things. The Fool, Justice, the Hanged Man. These 22 tarot cards are the main cards in the tarot deck, which can also be called the big cards. Below these, there are 56 minor cards, also known as the minor cards. The small cards are divided into 4 groups: Wands, Holy Grails, Gemstones, and Pentacles. Each of the 4 groups represents a different direction. The Wands deck represents action and creation. The Holy Cups deck represents relationships and emotions. The Swords deck represents damage and thinking. The Pentacles deck represents material things and enjoyment. Based on this point, the Tarot Club also assigned 4 groups to the leadership of Magician Forsy, Judgment Hugh, Justice Audrey, and Hanged Man Alger respectively. There was some controversy at first about the leaders of the 4 groups of Staff, Holy Grail, Sword and Star Coin. At that time, when the Tarot Club realized that the Tarot Club needed to expand its manpower, 4 major groups were established at Audrey's suggestion. The original Holy Grail group was to be led by Star Leonard, but he refused, saying that he was used to being alone and wandering around the world, and was not suitable for the important position of managing members. The Star Coin group was originally intended to be led by son Derek, who was willing to train his growth, but Derek also refused. He said that his giant brain was not as useful as a human brain, and that he had no free time just to deal with the affairs of the residents of Silver City. In fact, Hermit Catalia was extremely suitable to lead a group, but she stated from the beginning that there were too many things to deal with and she was unable to be distracted. She is now the second person in the Star Sea Kingdom. When the Queen was preparing to seek promotion, she was in charge of the Star Sea Kingdom, and she really had no energy to take care of him. As for Moon Emlyn, although he had a lot of ideas and was looking forward to it, he was tacitly ignored by the Tarot Club. It's better than the scene in the future where a whole team of members accept Emlyn's orders and go to various puppet shops to line up to buy puppets. Although this is ridiculous, it seems like something Emlyn would do, especially when there are discounts or new products are on the market. So after the final discussion, the Holy Grail team was handed over to Judge Hugh, and the Star Coin team was handed over to the Hanged Man Alger. The gold coin mentioned by Mr. Fool should also be the key item to break through in the future. This may be our focus in the future. Alger mentioned. Leonard sighed and said, "Let me take charge of this matter. I have a gold coin given by Mr. Fool. This may be the meaning of the gold coin given to me by him." Very good. Audrey, Furs, Catalia and others approved of this arrangement. As the only member of the Tarot Club who has received Mr. Fool's gold coin, Mr. Star is indeed the most suitable person to handle this matter. Alger said in a deep voice, "There are 5 gold coins left by Mr. Fool, 2 of which are in the hands of the Mercury Angel and the Angel of Death under my Lord's seat. In the Holy Book of the Sea God Church, it was described like this: my Lord calls himself the Fool. In the past, present, and future, he is the great ruler of the spiritual world, the yellow and black king who controls good luck, and the beacon for every living being to pursue eternity. My Lord resides above the real world and the spiritual world, and his mercy spreads all over the heavens and the earth. There are 6 angels standing beside his seat. The Mercury angel is the incarnation of fate, and it is the Lord's favorite angel. The angel of death is the one who has followed my Lord the longest and is the archon of the underworld. The angel of redemption is the horn of my Lord and the messenger of his oracle. The angel of life is the crystallization of wisdom and the indelible spirituality in everyone's body. The angel of punishment is the spear of my Lord and the executor of his anger and will. The angel of time is the messenger who rings the bell of heaven and comes across the long river of time. Quote, the content in the Holy Scripture is to facilitate believers to preach to non-believers, so the inner information is difficult to distinguish between true and false. Only the members of the Tarot Club know a little about the inside story. The Mercury angel Will Osepton, currently living in Backland, is the founder of the School of Life. He has a good personal relationship with Mr. Fool. During the time when Mr. Fool was sleeping, he responded to the believers' prayers to him many times, which greatly helped Alger stabilize the complex situation in the church. Mr. Azek, the angel of death, is Mr. Fool's most trusted teacher. He is currently traveling around the continent and his whereabouts are uncertain. After Mr. Fool fell into a deep sleep, he had come to the Church of Poseidon and met with Alger. He had promised that if the church needed it, they could seek his help, but they should try not to disturb his peace on weekdays. Angel of Redemption, he has multiple identities: Mr. World Gehrman Sparrow, the follower of the Fool, and the incarnation of the Fool walking in the world. He went to the God-forsaken land and led the residents of Silver City to the New World. When Mr. Fool fell into a deep sleep, Mr. World also fell into a deep sleep and has not yet awakened. Angel of Life, an angel specially created by the residents of Silver City when they revised the Holy Scripture. At that time, in addition to the incarnation of the Fool, Gehrman Sparrow, there was also a Queen Bernadette of the Star Sea Kingdom who saved the residents of Silver City from the God-forsaken land and gave them a new life. To be precise, this angel of life does not belong to the Fool, but is a believer and follower of the stars. Angel of Punishment, an angel that exists because of the scepter of Poseidon. At the beginning, when the world Gehrman Sparrow held the scepter of Poseidon, he could exert a power almost like a god on the sea. Later, the world fell into slumber, and the sea god scepter was passed to Alger. In a sense, he is the angel of punishment under the Fool's seat now. The angel of time Amen. This is an angel that exists because of mistakes. There shouldn't be such an angel, but it was born under various coincidences and mistakes. But now Amen has gone to the starry sky. As an opponent who once lost to the Fool, it is not too outrageous for him to be under the Fool's seat. But under normal circumstances, Alger forbids church members to believe in the angel of time Amen. The reason given is, the angel of time Amen is extremely loyal to the Lord. Apart from ringing the bells of heaven day after day, he doesn't care about anything else. Mr. Fool once gave one of the coins to his former messenger, Miss Renette Tinicole, the leader of the former Rose School's temperance lineage. Audrey added, she learned about this from Sharon. At present, Miss Renette Tinicole has difficulty in advancing to sequence 1, so she spends most of her time in the spirit world looking for various secret histories, which can also be regarded as a form of travel. Catalia tried to speak in a calm tone. There is another gold coin, which is in the possession of Roger Gustav, the current governor of the Intis Republic. He is the pure-blood descendant of Emperor Russell. The news that Emperor Russell is still alive is still a secret, especially in this special period when travelers who do not belong to this era are active. Once they know that Emperor Russell is still alive, God knows what will happen. Therefore, Catalia directly attributed the ownership of the gold coin to Roger Gustav. I will try my best to get in touch with them. Leonard nodded. Now, it's time to target the believers of Tianzun. What the members of the Tarot Club didn't expect was that this time the Tarot Club's action against the believers of Tianzun went particularly smoothly. I don't know who spread the news that the believers of Tianzun were the believers of the Lord of Mysteries, and the whole mysterious world seemed to be crazy. The Tarot Club just started it, and other things were taken over by many secret organizations. These include the Rose School, the Church of Glory, the Hunters Guild, the Sukai Society, the Lost Kingdom. This does not include organizations such as the Church of the Goddess of Night, the Church of Steam, the Church of the Mother Earth, and the School of Life. The believers of Tianzun are even more popular than the believers of the Aurora Club. The Tarot Club originally expected a month of action time, but it only took 5 days, and the believers of Tianzun were basically wiped out on the surface. It can be said that this is a great victory. Later, the members of the Tarot Club realized how terrible the notoriety of Tianzun, that is, the Lord of Mysteries, was. Even the outer god Old Days from the Starry Sky wished that he would sleep forever and never wake up again. This is naturally a very unfavorable situation for Tianzun, but for Mr. Fool, it is simply the best thing. However, the Tarot Club members still dare not slack off, but turn to the dark, one by one to eliminate Tianzun's core believers, are his followers. According to the information they have found, there are 1 or 2 responsible persons behind Tianzun's believers, who may be Tianzun's followers, and one of them is a time traveler from a time that does not belong to this era. When this wave of expelling Tianzun believers reached the capital of the Republic of Intis, Russell was chatting with his daughter Bernadette. "You have created the Star Sea Kingdom, and the order of the kingdom is on the right track. The extraordinary characteristics and uniqueness are also complete. It is time to embark on the path of the Black Emperor." Russell showed a pleased look. "The hidden sage has fallen. Perhaps reaching the end of the original path is the path I should take. Are you pitying your old father?" Russell understood Bernadette's concerns. There can only be one Sequence 0 Black Emperor. If she ascends to the throne, then he, the incomplete Black Emperor, will have to step down. The best outcome is to stabilize the Sequence 2 angel level power. The worst outcome is that the moment Bernadette is promoted to the Black Emperor, he falls silently. Bernadette just said, "Today's situation is different from the past. This is an era of stars, and the danger is no longer as urgent as it used to be. Aren't you also one of the shining stars of this era?" Seeing that Bernadette was still hesitating, Russell waved his hand and said, "I have figured out how high the sequence is to be considered high. Although the Black Emperor is more vast to me, the Angel of Sequence 2 is to me, it's also a way to avoid unnecessary disputes and enjoy your old age." Bernadette remained silent and did not speak. "There is another reason why I don't want you to continue to take the hermit path. Steam has a good relationship with me, and I don't want you to become a competitor with him." Russell sighed. "The Heavenly Lord is waking up, and the dust is gathering in the west. The various sources of matter in the continent will eventually be unsealed, and a new and old day will be born. It will be safer for you to become the god of the son of chaos." He should have made some kind of deal with the stars. Bernadette did not make a clear statement. She only stayed in Intis for a few days and then left. After sending his daughter away, Russell also began to actively target Tianzun's followers. He hated the bastard Lord of Mysteries from the bottom of his heart. If it weren't for him, people like myself and Klein would not be separated from the original era, and would be forced to leave their loved ones and live in such a chaotic and twisted world. Moreover, the thing he hates the most in his life is being treated as a chess piece for manipulation. In the process of eradicating Tianzun's followers, Russell discovered that many members of another curly-haired baboon research society were followers of Tianzun. Although their strength is generally around Sequence 6, they also reveal a message. Travelers who do not belong to this era will most likely have the backup plan that Tianzun once arranged. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Tianzun's followers to spread all at once. Maybe there might be followers of Tianzun or even favored ones in the curly-haired baboon research group that he participated in. Russell's eyes were set on Claude, the mysterious and powerful man who seemed to be the incarnation of a big shot. His body satisfied all possibilities. About a week later, the Curly Baboon research meeting was secretly held again, still in the basement of that inn. "Hey, why is it a little different from the King Kong Barbie?" the first thought. Robert spoke out what Russell wanted to say in his heart. Daddy, who had been promoted to a witch, sat silently in his seat, letting the other members look at him. His original height of 2.3 meters has shrunk after becoming a woman. The shrunken meat and fat are evenly gathered on the chest and buttocks, making him truly bulging forward and backward, full of ultimate female allure. But this needs to be added with a prefix. 1.95 meters, a tall beauty who is taller than the average male. In their curly-haired baboon research group, Russell, Robert, Claude, etc. are all about 1.8 meters tall. At 1.95 meters, Daddy is already half a head taller than all the members. Miss Frank looked up and down for a long time and said with great envy, "Is this the witch's path?" It's so amazing, so beautiful. Daddy, can I touch your skin? Daddy just nodded silently, and Miss Frank touched it a few times. It was very smooth, a bit smoother than her skin in a milk bath. It was white, smooth and in good shape, and her eyes were even more filled with envy. Although she also wanted to touch Daddy's breasts and buttocks a few times to experience whether the real touch was the same as that of a normal woman, she felt that such behavior was too rude and did not take action. This made Russell, and Russell, who wanted to watch a show Robert, was disappointed. Daddy, how are your daily lives now? Robert asked curiously. Daddy glanced at Robert, gently brushed the golden hair by his ear with his right hand, lowered his eyes slightly, and said in a clear and ringing voice like a trickle of a small spring, I haven't completely overcome the habit of going to the toilet. I have always been used to standing. Now every day the first time I squatted down, I felt cold down there, and I had to wipe it off every time, which was very troublesome. Quote. Robert almost spit out a mouthful of tea. Such a big, bright and tall big sister type beauty speaks like a shy little girl in her early teens, and the content of her words is so vulgar. The contrast is really terrible. Russell was also shocked by these words and coughed several times. Miss Frank even covered her mouth slightly, her cheeks were red, and she quickly reminded Daddy that she was now a woman and her speech and behavior should be normal. When women get close, they can't be like men and use such vulgar words when opening and closing their mouths. I'm sorry, I don't want to be like this, but I've only been promoted to a witch for a few days, and I'm not used to being a real woman. Daddy showed an apologetic and aggrieved expression on her face, with a unique charm flowing. Miss Frank couldn't bear to say anything more reproachful, but just asked Daddy to move to her place in the future. She wanted to find a few teachers for Daddy to train her and let her learn how to be a real woman. This world is really crazy. Robert sighed and lowered his head. He sat on the opposite side of Daddy. Every time Daddy glanced at him, he always felt a strange feeling. Although he knew that this was the unique charm and temptation of the witch path, he felt itchy in his heart. Especially when he thought that the bright and beautiful woman opposite him turned out to be a strong man over 2 meters tall. He felt as if he had some kind of sexual fetish awakened, and he was so scared that he didn't dare to look at Daddy opposite him too much. It's really interesting. Russell laughed in his heart. Although he had tasted the taste of witches and recorded this experience in his diary, the excitement was far from comparable to the changes in the earth. Of course, he was past the age dominated by desires. Unless the original witch came in person, it would be possible to shake his state of mind. Earth, you have been promoted to a witch. Do you want to change the code name of Earth? Miss Frank suggested. No, Earth shook his head, this is my proof. Quote. The faint sadness made everyone in the Curly Baboon Research Society sigh. You don't have to worry about me so much. I also know a few time travelers in the witch sect. Like me, they are attracted by the profession of assassin and embark on such a path. Earth smiled and introduced some of her experiences in the witch sect. When it was mentioned that there was a high reward in the witch sect, Russell lowered her head silently. That was a task issued by the witch sect to find out the mysterious person who distributed a large number of assassin potion formulas in various underground trading places. Those other witch path extraordinaries who were also time travelers chose to embark on this extraordinary path because the assassin potion formula was easy to obtain and cheap, and the profession was very impressive. The guy who spread the assassin potion formula on a large scale is such a jerk. Robert couldn't help but curse. He also encountered someone selling the assassin potion formula in Trier's underground trading place. If he hadn't chosen the generalist path, he would definitely have been lured to the assassin's extraordinary path, which is so exciting. The person who did this is really a jerk and shameless. Claude said with a smile, looking at Russell and said, innocent boy, do you have the same idea? Russell's facial expression was slightly stiff, and then he pretended not to hear the question. I have heard from others that the mysterious man who spread the assassin's potion formula on a large scale is a terrible pervert with a broken heart. He seems to be a man who has always wanted to become a charming woman, but unfortunately he has never been able to do so. By the time he got the assassin's potion formula, he had already set foot on other extraordinary paths, which was difficult to reverse, leaving a permanent regret. Quote, so he chose to spread the assassin's potion formula so that other people like him can have an extra chance to choose. Quote, Claude talked freely, his eyes occasionally falling on Russell. Damn, where did this bastard come from? He actually knew everything I did. Did he know my real identity? Russell cursed in his heart, thought for a while and quickly came back to his senses, looking at Claude with a smile on his face. Innocent boy, do you think so too? Claude looked at Russell without caring. You are right, those who hide their true identity are really bastards and shameless. Russell responded with a smile. After a short interlude, the topic returned to the focus of the Curly Baboon Research Society's future development. At the end, Miss Frank mentioned her pen pal again. My pen pal Muggle may have been in trouble recently. She hasn't replied to me for more than half a month. This is very unusual, because the communication time between us is very fixed, and there will be no such phenomenon of not replying for a long time. Quote, and in my last reply, I told her that there is a suitable hypnotist in Trier who can help her, and she will definitely reply to me soon after receiving the letter. A few days ago, I wrote another letter to her, but still didn't get a reply. Miss Frank thought for a while and said, does any one of you have time to go and have a look recently? The current Archon Roger Gustav thinks highly of me, and I can't get away. Robert waved his hand and said, sometimes I even think that the young Archon Roger Gustav should join our curly-haired Baboon Research Society, otherwise how could he recognize my wisdom so much? Young man, do you want to listen to what you just said? Russell narrowed his eyes and smiled at Robert, who was obviously proud and confident. The stars will definitely protect every believer of him, if she is a devout believer of the stars. Quote, the starry sky was still quiet at night, and the occasional evening breeze brought coolness and quietness to the night. Aurora sat on the red roof, looking up at the starry sky, her eyes wandering, her thoughts seemed to be wandering among the stars, and there was a kind of almost eternal tranquility and satisfaction filling her heart. Intel, Aurora, Lumien's anxious voice sounded, and his figure climbed up the stairs, took 2 quick steps to Aurora's side, and said with excitement, and hesitation, I met a very special stranger today. She is a mature, intellectual and elegant woman, and she looks good. Of course, her beauty cannot shake your position in my heart. It was just the first time I met her, but she could accurately tell me the dream I was experiencing, and let me draw a tarot card for free. Here, it's this one. Quote, Lumien said, handing an exquisite tarot card to Aurora. Tarot card, 7 of Wands. Aurora just took a look and asked Lumien to put the card away. Since she gave it to you, you can keep it with you, maybe it can really play a role in your dreams. Okay. Lumien put the tarot card away and put it in the inside pocket of his shirt, and asked curiously, Aurora, do you know what this means? You want to know? Yes, it's a bit late, it's time to rest, and you have to get up early tomorrow. Staying up late is the natural enemy of a woman's appearance. Aurora uttered a sigh, then stood up, like a flying bird, through the window, and fell into her room. Quote. Lumien was left alone in the night wind. Aurora returned to her room with a serious look. She naturally understood what this tarot card represented. In the world of mysticism, the secret organization Tarot Club was well known. It is said that the Tarot Club has 22 main members, each with a code name of 22 major arcana cards. Below these are the 4 groups of members: Holy Grail, Wands, Swords, and Pentacles. This Wands 7 tarot card means that the Tarot Club is ready to accept Lumien as a member of the Wands group. Even the Tarot Club has begun to pay attention to this place. The situation is becoming more and more complicated. Perhaps I should take Lumien to Trier now to seek the help of a hypnotist to solve his dream problem as soon as possible. Quote, Aurora sighed, feeling that things were heading towards an unsettling future. She didn't waste too much time worrying about the future. After closing the doors and windows, she began to pray devoutly to the stars, telling them what she had been through during this period, and hoping to receive their blessings. Although the stars never responded to her calls, she always felt that their eyes were always on this place. The next day, Lumien, who had a new change in his dream, went to the old tavern with excitement to look for the mysterious foreign woman. The dark red wooden door was tightly closed, and a white paper sign hung on the brass handle, which read in Intis. Resting. Do not disturb. Lumien waited quietly outside the door for more than half an hour, and the door finally opened with a creak. The mysterious foreign woman was wearing a light green dress with white edges, and her brown hair was tied up in a fluffy style on the back of her head. What do you want to ask? What secret is hidden in that dream? You should ask yourself this question, because it is your dream. There was a smile on the lady's face. I can only tell you that you can get extraordinary power there. Lumien's head trembled. He had always wanted to pursue extraordinary power, but he didn't expect that the key to extraordinary power lay in his dreams. There is no such thing as getting something for nothing in this world. When you get opportunities, there are also risks. The two have always been the same. How dangerous is it? Die. What if I gave up exploring? What would be the impact? That's your own business. The lady smiled. Maybe nothing will happen, or maybe everything will happen. Quote. Although what the other party said made sense, Lumion always felt that the other party was talking nonsense. Lumion pondered for a long time and couldn't help but ask, "Who are you? And why did you give me that tarot card? What is your purpose?" The lady smiled slightly and said, "I will tell you after you unlock the secret of the dream." Lumion left with complicated emotions, and the lady returned to her room and began to enjoy her breakfast. A plump meat pie, a few cream donuts, seasonal fruits cut into pieces, and a glass of the holy oil of Venus drink from Trier. She was enjoying breakfast while flipping through the newspapers from the Lowen Kingdom. When she saw a place, she finished the food in her mouth and exclaimed, "That Greg Negan actually chose to do this. This is not good." Okay, forget it, he was Kungshing's friend when they were in Backland, and it was Kungshing who helped him ascend to the throne. Besides, Backland also has the Church of the Stars, so I believe there won't be any big trouble. The lady felt happy again. After breakfast, she disappeared and walked around the small village. She felt more and more unusual about this village. However, all of this had nothing to do with her. She easily opened a door to travel, left the village called Kalesh, and arrived at the distant Star Sea Kingdom. "Furs, have you finished your work?" In the room, Shu, who was about to go out after breakfast, looked at Furs, who came out of the travel gate with curiosity. "After finishing a little bit, I can't stay in that small village all the time, it's too boring." Shu smiled and said, "I should let Mr. Fool assign more tasks to you, so that you can't continue to be idle. Shu, how about you help me get things done? You are in charge of the Scepter Group, and it is your responsibility to examine new members." Shu took off a brown hat and put it on, turned around and waved to Furs, saying, "Come on, Miss Salted Fish. Hee, you also learned the words used by those time travelers. Don't you think this is very suitable for you?" No, Shu didn't argue with Furs, opened the door and went out. Alas, if I had known that, I should have given the leadership of the Scepter Group to Mr. Moon. He should have been happy to accept it. Furs sighed, returned to her room, and continued to write her new novel that had been interrupted for a few days. It's called a new novel, but it's more like a biography of the times. As a believer of the stars, after entering the Stars era, she had the idea of writing a masterpiece about the Stars era, so that believers or future generations can understand what kind of era the Stars era is. For this reason, she has also visited Backland many times to exchange relevant experiences with Mrs. Lisa of the Stars Church, and received a lot of help from the other party. At night, Furs, who rarely wrote for 2 hours, looked at the brilliant starry sky outside the window and began to pray to the stars as usual. Still no response. Furs has become accustomed to this silent response. After all, it's just a daily prayer and greeting, nothing big. The prayers followed the falling starlight and rose straight up, converging on the Stars Hall. In the Hall of Stars, Hastur sat at the head of the table, looking down at everything in the world with the posture of stars. His eyes were like an eternal pool, without any ripples. Even the prayers from familiar people like Furs and Mrs. Lisa could not move him at all. Even when he saw the outer gods from the camp of the fallen Mother Goddess from outside the starry sky, using the increasingly cracked initial barrier to continuously infiltrate his influence, he was completely indifferent and did not even take a second look. As early as a few years ago, Hastur realized that his spiritual core was gradually approaching the divine side. Especially after lighting up more and more stars, the divinity began to grow and spread uncontrollably. This is an inevitable and irreversible process, and it is also the last spiritual, soul, consciousness, thought, transformation of the stars. From human to God. In this regard, he is different from Russell and will who have been promoted to Sequence 0. His transformation is more thorough. Because once he is promoted to Sequence 0, he will be the stars that surpass the ordinary outer gods in the boundaries of this universe. Hastur himself could not estimate how terrible the limit of the power of the stars was. With the will and soul of a mortal, it is definitely impossible to master such power. Even if there is only divinity, it is afraid that it cannot support such power and will fall into inconsolable madness. As the stars in the starry sky light up one by one, Haster's feeling becomes more and more obvious. He knows that only after a complete transformation can he take the last step of becoming a star. So 2 years ago, he left his human side in the suburban manor where he lived with Audrey and Sharon, and the divine side embarked on a journey in the starry sky. As for what is left in the Hall of Stars, it is a state that transcends humanity and divinity, as if it is a spectator of all things. Supreme will. This is a term that Haster has heard in some novels or game worlds. He doesn't know whether this decision is right or wrong. After all, this is just his attempt. The starry sky is dark and cold. Although the stars are shining with dazzling and hot light, the light is too insignificant when viewed from the scale of the entire universe. Only the magnificent cosmic wonders that appear from time to time make the entire universe more interesting. A huge earth-yellow ring is suspended in the depths of the universe, and the huge planet is just a speck of dust under its feet. The ring rotates and flows over and over again, falling from one end and rising from the other end, a perfect closed loop, as if it is an eternal cosmic wonder. It is also the existence that many outer gods used to be afraid of, the Ring of Fate. The great master who manipulates fate, once an unknowing existence mistakenly enters the torrent of fate, it can no longer escape, and can only be manipulated by fate to the end of life. Suddenly, the entire Ring of Fate exudes a much brighter light than usual, and an illusory figure, a smaller version of the Ring of Fate, takes shape in the center. Stars. With a whisper from him, a dim starry sky in the distance suddenly lights up, and accompanied by endless starlight, a figure bathes in the starlight. He just waved his hand gently, and the stars that had been silent for countless years were lit up, giving life to those dead stars, making them no longer lifeless and dim. The figure bathed in the starlight came in front of the huge Ring of Fate. His body was not even as big as the planets next to it, as small as a tiny dust, not to mention compared with the more majestic and vast Ring of Fate. Stars. The Ring of Fate spoke again, and the sound was like an ancient bell bursting with vitality and making a loud noise. The surrounding cosmic meteorites and other materials were crushed by this sound. Do you want to stop me? In response to the question of the Ring of Fate, Haster only glanced at the earth wrapped by the original barrier in the distant starry sky, and opened a starlight scroll. In the scroll, there appeared several figures who were specially arranged by the Ring of Fate, as well as his god-favored ones. Do you want to say that everything is under your watch? The tone of the Ring of Fate was much more solemn. Even the fallen mother goddess, the partner of the cooperation, could not fully understand his plan. But the stars can fully see through all of this. If the stars are willing, they can erase his calculations and efforts for so many years at any time. Haster just smiled and put away the starry sky scroll, and continued to travel towards the dim starry sky in front. His speed was very fast. In just a blink of an eye, he went from this lit starry sky to another dim and cold starry sky. Then he repeated the previous action, gently waving the starlight, making the entire starry sky bright, as if it was reborn. Stars. The Ring of Destiny silently watched the actions of the stars. Although the stars did not speak, he understood what the stars wanted to express just now. He didn't care. He didn't care about the so-called plots and calculations, and he didn't even care about the future fate of the entire Earth. Such stars are undoubtedly terrible and difficult to guess. Even though the stars that appeared in front of him did not show a power far beyond that of the ordinary outer gods, they made him feel indescribable fear. But one thing is certain, this era is the era of stars recognized by many outer gods. As the protagonist of the era, the stars will definitely benefit greatly from it. Has he really not yet been promoted to Sequence 0? The Ring of Destiny looked at the starry sky that was constantly lit up in front of him and fell into deep thought. As the starry sky lit up one after another, Haster's heart was calm. At this moment, he was like a ruthless machine that was only responsible for lighting up the starry sky, and was seriously fulfilling his responsibilities. Sitting in the Hall of Stars and lighting up the starry sky is too slow, far less than walking freely in the starry sky. Because those stars that are eager to wake up are calling themselves, so they are willing to lend their power to themselves without reservation, so that they can control this starry sky. Consuming power to wake up the stars, and then giving themselves power after the stars wake up, and then filling themselves with power again, this is an endless cycle. So in theory, as long as he keeps walking through the starry sky, he can keep awakening the silent stars and restore the authority of the stars bit by bit. Then, become a real star. The steps of the starry sky never stopped. Haster, the divine side, continued to go deep into the seemingly endless universe, lighting up pieces of starry sky at will. Although it seems that there is no obvious change in each star, their cores are actually lit up. For example, an old tree that is about to die and a big tree that is growing vigorously, although they look the same on the outside, they are completely different on the inside. The lit starry sky is updated synchronously to the starry sky in front of the Hall of Stars, transcending humanity and divinity, and the will that has not yet been truly nurtured is like a transit station. On one side, it connects to the human side, and on the other side, it connects to the divine side. The Hall of Stars maintains a high-speed alert to avoid any accidents. Stars. It seems that a whisper sounded in the nebula outside the Hall of Stars. It is the voice of the Lord of Mystery. He seems to have temporarily broken away from the entanglement with Klein and took the time to come here for observation. Hasta just looked at him calmly, and used the power of the Hall of Stars to send him back. Talk. There is no need. No matter who wins between Klein and the Lord of Mysteries, it has nothing to do with him. Even if the entire Earth is facing the final doomsday, he can watch silently and remain indifferent. How the kite with 2 silk threads will land in the end is up to them to decide. He only needs to guard the Hall of Stars and wait for the last stars to return. The silk thread drooped all the way to a suburban manor in the southern continent. Hasta prepared the daily breakfast, woke up Sharon who had just returned and was still sleeping, and walked to the other side and knocked on Audrey's door. She didn't go out recently, but stayed in the manor for a short rest. Woof, meow. Susie and Ashera, who came back from a stroll early, greeted Hasta and went to their seats to enjoy breakfast. Although Ashera can become a human, it still prefers to act in the form of a cat, especially when it is with Susie. As for Susie, it should be able to become a human, but it refused because it wants to evolve towards the form of a mind dragon. At this point, its teacher, the famous Mr. Hermes, has already deduced the subsequent path for it. It is only a matter of time before it is promoted to a psychic dragon. When Sharon and Audrey came down from the second floor, Hasta was already sitting in front of the table, enjoying breakfast with Susie and Ashera. Ham and bacon, toast with jam, milk and eggs, porridge and a few side dishes. Hasta is more used to porridge with side dishes and occasionally a fried egg. Sharon likes lighter food, such as vegetable and fruit salad with boiled eggs, and Audrey is used to milk tarts, toast with strawberry jam and other foods. As for Susie and Ashera, they eat all kinds of steaks, and only in rare cases will they eat 1 or 2 bites of vegetables. Sharon, is your teacher still in the spirit world now? Well, she is in the broken kingdom of God where the ancient phoenix fell in the past. She said that she heard the sound of water from the Everdark River recently. The cracks are beginning to deepen, and their influence on the real world is getting bigger and bigger. Audrey seemed a little troubled. Sharon just comforted him. As the power of the Lord of Mysteries begins to awaken, the source substances sealed in the Western continent will break free sooner or later. I hope that day will not come too soon. What difficulties has the Tarot Club encountered recently? Some organizations targeting the Lord of Mysteries also hate the entire Tarot Club. I believe you will hand over the Tarot Club intact to the hands of Mr. Fool. Facing the conversation between Sharon and Audrey, Hasta just smiled and had no intention of intervening at all, even though his identity was based on humanity. The Lord of Mysteries awakened, and Klein's consciousness also awakened, which was already a good result. It can even be said that at this point, the Lord of Mysteries has already made a mistake, and Klein does not need excessive help at present. He will eventually have more say in the competition with the Lord of Mysteries. Sharon, it's rare for you to come back. Where are you going to play today? I don't like going out in the hot weather in July and August. Is that so? Audrey looked at Asta and motioned him to say something. Asta smiled and said, let's go to the beach. Swimming is the best way to spend the hot summer. Sharon's eyes instantly became alert. Asta shrugged innocently and said, I just made a feasible suggestion. Just like that, okay, I admit that I have selfish motives. Asta sighed, I've always wanted to see what you two look like in swimsuits. Mr. Asta, your thoughts are not pure. Audrey's tone was slightly heavier, but there was still a smile on her face. Sharon stared at Asta for a while, retracted her gaze, and nodded slightly, then let's go to the beach. Ms. Sharon, have you been thinking about showing your beautiful figure in? Audrey's teasing words were not finished yet, and Sharon silenced her. She held Sharon's little hand, sobbing and unable to speak, revealing a pitiful expression. I will design a few swimsuits for both of you right now. Asta was in a good mood, waved his hand, and said excitedly, Don't worry, my ability to design clothes will never let you down. Trier, the capital of Intis, under Rassel's sight, late at night, beside the winding river, a figure wearing a black magic robe came. He walked to the 3 river trees distributed in a triangle, and took out a black token engraved with twisted lines from his jacket pocket with his right hand. The space rippled a little, forming a portal that no one noticed. The man walked into the space portal, and everything returned to its original state again. This is a special space that emits gray, twisted, and strange light. Every step that the man takes, the entire space changes once, until he reaches the deepest part of the space, all changes stop. A long table carved from black gold stone, with 3 seats on each side and 1 seat on the top, a total of 7 seats. A different pattern is drawn behind each seat, representing the secret organization they are in. Everyone who sat down wore a black magic robe, and each wore a mask with different facial makeup on their face, covering their body shape and breath, which can effectively block various investigations. The person sitting in the first seat wore a mask with a white facial makeup. Everyone is here, let's get started. The leader spoke first. Tonight we will only discuss one thing, which is to split the entire Intis and return it to chaos. Perhaps you think this matter is too much of a fuss. As long as the Archon Roger Gustav is killed, the Republic of Intis will inevitably fall into chaos. He is only about the strength of Sequence 6, and each of you has at least the strength of Sequence 4 demigod. But there is one thing I need to make clear to you first. This Roger Gustav has another identity. Russell Gustav. As this sentence was said, the quiet scene immediately became noisy. Russell has not fallen yet. No wonder the Republic of Intis will return to a stable situation so quickly. Haha, Emperor Russell, I have long wanted to meet this senior traverser. Russell is at least an angel, and the Steam's eyes will definitely be watching here, and there are stars. Someone showed a hesitant attitude. The word stars made the scene quiet again. The star's gaze is no longer here, but in the depths of the endless universe. The leader spoke, dispelling the concerns of others. Map. Someone conjured a map of the Republic of Intis. Let's act on our own, so we can avoid unnecessary risks. After a brief discussion, the 7 figures attending the meeting, holding their tokens, gently tapped their seats 3 times, and a space ripple spread. The 7 figures have appeared in different regions. Disintegrate the Republic of Intis. One of the figures wearing a black magic robe took off the red mask on his face, revealing a face belonging to Christian. Haha, I actually want to catch Intis's attention. You also know my true identity. This secret gathering is really not simple. Russell sneered a few times, blended into the darkness, and quickly came to the place where the stranger Claude lived. He wanted to verify his guess. This time, he managed to see each other. The other party was standing in the yard, looking up at the stars. His eyes were pure, consistent with the falling stars, without any impurities. Is my guess wrong? Russell originally thought that the host of tonight's party was Claude, but now it seems that the two are obviously different. Is something wrong? Claude said softly, glancing at the place where Russell was hiding. Should I call you an innocent boy, or Christian, or Roger Gustav, or Russell Gustav? What kind of old immortal monster are you? Russell walked out of the darkness and went straight to the other party. He didn't care that the other party had discovered all of his identity. Claude smiled and said, there is no conflict of interest between you and me. You don't need to worry about me. A mysterious meeting was held by the river tonight. Did you also attend? I saw it, but I had no interest in participating. Oh, then you don't mind telling me a little news? Claude nodded and talked about his knowledge of the secret party tonight. The leader is the favored one of the Heavenly Lord and also a time traveler. The members attending the meeting each represented a secret organization. Except for Russell, the other members all represented the old will of a certain outer god. Russell looked thoughtful. How could those outer gods in the starry sky who hated the Lord of Mysteries so much in the past attend the gathering held by the favored ones of the Lord of Mysteries? Because Tianzun is both a threat and an opportunity. Claude said with a smile on his face. No one can understand the current situation of the major sources better than Tianzun, and it is not very easy for Tianzun's favored ones to hide their identities. Something easy. Russell thought for a while, walked around Claude, and said with a smile, you seem to have been calling the Lord of Mysteries Tianzun. Is it just a simple habit, or is there some other reason? Is Tianzun necessarily the eternal Lord of Mysteries? Russell was stunned for a while, and then burst out laughing. For the sake of what you said tonight, I won't bother you again in the future. Seeing that Russell wanted to leave, Claude reminded him, the favored person of the Heavenly Lord has mastered the two extraordinary paths of fortune teller and thief. He is probably sequence 3. Quote. Russell turned around and left, then snorted and said, "This is my territory." Well, this is indeed your territory, but with your current ability, there is a high probability that you will not be able to capture the favored one of the Heavenly Lord. Claude whispered in his heart and stopped paying attention to this matter. He just looked up at the stars. After all, he was just a starlight clone. He just came down to take a look and didn't want to change anything personally. This world operates as it should, and what does it have to do with a starlight clone like him? Russell was busy for several days, but still couldn't catch the favored one of the Heavenly Lord. The opponent's ability to hide his aura is comparable to the secret authority given by the knight himself, making it difficult to capture. In addition, although the opponent did not master the apprenticeship path, he had a powerful extraordinary item of high-sequence apprenticeship path in his hand. When he sensed something was wrong, he immediately stayed away from Trier. Although Russell can calculate the opponent's foothold based on the corresponding spatial fluctuations, he can only keep chasing after others, and it is difficult to truly catch the opponent. In addition, he was afraid of Tianzun, so he had no choice but to let the favored person of Tianzun leave. Russell, who returned to Trier, held an emergency meeting to discuss the issue of national defense and security. A few days later, turmoil still spread across the Republic of Intis. Some people directly use extraordinary power to intervene in the real world, causing huge damage, and even directly control the consciousness of local lords and generals to launch a large-scale rebellion. Russell originally wanted to lead the expedition in person, but he was worried that something unexpected would happen to the capital, Trier, and it would become the next target. Boom! Russell smashed the table in front of him with a dark face, and his anger finally eased a little. The Republic of Intis is currently on fire, and the plan of the Heavenly Favored One has been successful. Those old believers who believed in the outer god of the starry sky were crazy and bold, and acted without any scruples, even going so far as to eat people alive. "Hey, do you really think I can't do anything to you?" Russell sneered, turned around, went to the study, and started writing furiously, writing 3 letters in a row. A letter was sent to the Church of the Stars in Backland, Kingdom of Lowen. As an extension of the will of the stars, they have always been responsible for guarding and monitoring the entire world. This time, the behavior of the old believers of the outer gods had clearly crossed the line. The second letter was sent to the Tarot Club. The Tarot Club was an organization established by Klein and was in an absolute state of hostility with Tianzun believers. This important information about Tianzun's favored ones was enough for them to make a trip here. Russell sent the third letter to his baby daughter, reminding her that she was coming back to visit her old father. During the period of waiting for a reply, because Russell did not have a chariot to conquer in person, the situation in the entire Republic of Intis became increasingly chaotic and complicated, and it was likely to return to the original situation of separation of forces. Russell just watched all these developments quietly. He wanted to see what the followers of the Heavenly Lord were up to. They split the Republic of Intis and plunged Intis into chaos and separatism. There must be some unknown secrets. It was not until Russell received a reply from his beloved daughter that he understood the root of all this. The country of disordered source will appear in Intis. The more chaotic and disordered the territory of Intis is, the more conducive it is for the country of disorder to break free from the seal of the former Heavenly Lord and get closer to the real world. And Bernadette knew this because of the lamp god. He knew more about the country of disorder than any other outer god in the past, and he was more eager for it. At present, he has come to the central abdomen of the Republic of Intis, waiting for the moment when the country of disorder comes into contact with the real world. As expected, money has always moved people's hearts since ancient times. Russell sighed. The appearance of the country of disorder in Intis is definitely not a good thing, but a catastrophe. He could already foresee that when the power of the kingdom of disorder collides with the real world, all the old outer gods will focus their attention here, and a big melee is inevitable. Maybe the entire Intis will be broken into several pieces. When he thought of this, Russell's scalp numbed. At this stage, except for the stars, no one knew how many clones of the old outer gods had descended on Earth. Damn it, Tianzun, you bastard, you must be secretly influencing the kingdom of disorder and changing its landing location to Intis. Russell cursed fiercely, then got up and went to the steam church. For such a big thing, he had to inform Steam. After all, Steam was also a sequence 0. Those clones of the old outer gods were suppressed by the original barrier and the power of the stars, and at most they could only have the strength of sequence 1. After doing this, Russell also secretly left the capital Trier and went to the place where the Kingdom of Disorder was about to appear. Caister County, located in the central abdomen of Intis, is also the transportation hub of the entire Intis. A large amount of materials are transported to all parts of the country through here. Not long after Russell arrived, the lamp god came to visit him, and his beloved daughter Bernadette also came. What does that bastard Tianzun want to do? I believe that he must have some purpose in choosing to bring the Kingdom of Disorder to Intis. Russell got straight to the point. The lamp god looked at the angry Russell and laughed, because you were once the Black Emperor, the rules and order of the entire Republic of Intis just happened to attract the Kingdom of Disorder. Russell was silent, and it turned out that he had brought this disaster to Intis. Silence is a silent embarrassment. Russell laughed dryly, trying to ease the embarrassment, but the eyes of the lamp god and Bernadette were always on him, making him a little uncomfortable. So, the disordered country is coming for me. Russell tried to make the atmosphere less awkward. You can think so. The lamp god nodded and smiled. This is also the reason why I came to you. You want to seize the disordered country? Russell raised his eyebrows slightly. The disordered country was originally mine. The lamp god's voice instantly increased several notches, full of anger and resentment, saying, if I hadn't been plotted by that bastard Tianzun, I would have taken back the disordered country that should have belonged to me and returned to the starry sky. That's not right, Russell said in a frivolous tone. The source substance in your body was torn to the earth, which means that the original creator is taking back the gift given to you. In this case, the disordered country is now ownerless. Just relying on you, a half-dead Black Emperor, you want to compete with me. The lamp god's tone was full of disdain. If it weren't for your good relationship with the stars, now, I can easily make you completely fall. Russell believed this very much. The high-level status has a suppressive power of life and death over the low-level status. As an old-time level of the Black Emperor's path, it would be easy for the lamp god to deal with him. It's a luxury for me to even return to the sequence 0 Black Emperor, so I won't compete with you for the disordered country. However, Russell laughed, the fallen mother goddess, the ring of fate, even the mother tree of desire, the superstar lord, etc., they don't want to see the disordered country fall into your hands, right? The disordered country is originally mine. When it breaks free from the seal of the heavenly lord, it will naturally return to my control. If you really have this confidence, you don't have to show up here now. Just find a place to lie down and wait for the disordered country to come to you, right? Hee, I just came to see which ignorant guys are coveting my disordered country. Tisk, if I were you, find a place to hide now, otherwise you will definitely become the target of concentrated fire, and you may not live to wait until the disordered country breaks free from the seal. Seeing that the topic was getting more and more explosive, Bernadette interrupted the conversation between Russell and the lamp god and brought the topic back to the point. He sighed inwardly. In a way, his old father and the lamp god had similar tempers. They were both the kind of people who would not give in. I don't have the ability to control the Kingdom of Disorder. Bernadette expressed her attitude. She helped the lamp god fight for the Kingdom of Disorder, and the lamp god gave her a position as a god and helped her to be promoted to sequence 0 Black Emperor. This was a very reasonable deal. Russell did not object. He could no longer return to the Black Emperor, and the consciousness of the fallen mother god in his body was only dormant and had not been completely purified and erased. I still say that the most important thing for you now is to find a place to hide and try not to be discovered by other beings before the Kingdom of Disorder appears. Russell made his own suggestions. The lamp god was tough on his words, but he also recognized Russell's judgment in his heart. His clone was only about sequence 1, at the same level as other clones of the outer gods in the past. He was not arrogant enough to sweep all the clones of the outer gods in the past. I will help you keep an eye on the movements here. At Russell's urging, the lamp god and Bernadette were about to leave. At this time, the whole earth began to sway, as if a great earthquake had set off. At the same time, the daytime sky suddenly darkened, and the black wind howled. The meteors that flickered in the depths of the sky also swooped down in this direction. You wish for the best. Russell had no intention of staying to die with the lamp god, so he left here first. The lamp god swept around and propped up a golden kingdom to block the first wave of attacks. He did not dare to delay any longer, and left here quickly with Bernadette. On a distant mountain, Russell looked at the small town where he was just now being engulfed and destroyed by earthquakes, winds, and meteorites, and was silent. Those old outer gods who were also watching here, once they noticed the approach of the lamp god's breath, launched an offensive from a distance to force the lamp god to leave and prevent him from approaching the place where the disordered country appeared. As for such a small town with tens of thousands of people living in it, in their eyes, it was just an ant that was wiped out at will, and elimination was just a byproduct. Alas, as the time pointer gradually approaches the end of the world, such things will only become more and more. Imbalance and chaos will eventually become the main theme of this world. This may be the fundamental reason why the country of disorder first made a move. The only thing to look forward to is. Russell's eyes suddenly lit up, and the unique divine emblem of the Church of the Stars appeared in his field of vision, rising into the sky. A starry sky dotted with stars. Deep in the starry sky, there is a faint ancient temple floating up and down. As for the inside of the temple, it is impossible to see clearly, only a glimpse of the glory of the stars flowing. This is the most glorious divine emblem of the Church of the Stars, and it is also the strongest weapon given by the stars to the Church of the Stars to protect and monitor the entire world. In the era when the activities of the outer gods were increasingly rampant, the Church of the Stars followed the will of the stars and set up a special department, led by the Pope himself, with a total of 12 stars law enforcers. It is rumored that 1 star's law enforcer can monitor a country, 2 stars law enforcers can monitor a god, and 3 stars law enforcers can monitor the outer gods from outside the starry sky. Because Russell had a good personal relationship with the stars, and he unified Intis and maintained national stability, there was no trace of the star enforcers in Intis. Until today, he really saw the so-called star enforcers. This time, there were 3 of them. 3 star god emblems lit up one by one in the sky, and the whole sky instantly came to the night belonging to the stars. The bright stars, like a pair of eyes, saw everything that had just happened. Then the light of the stars gathered to form 3 brilliant portals, behind which was connected a small box. The small box slowly opened, releasing a powerful attraction and invisible silk thread from it, tearing the 3 former clones of the outer gods who had just made a move in secret, pulling them into the brilliant stargate, and finally sending them into the small box and locking them up. The 3 former clones of the outer gods were easily and thoroughly solved. Although they used their power to struggle frantically during the process, under the suppression of the glory of the stars, they seemed to be bound by some kind of inescapable bondage and could only let their bodies be put into the small box. After all the movement ended, the starry sky dispersed, and the daylight once again ruled the sky. Russell was amazed at what he saw. It was also the first time he saw the scene of the star enforcers enforcing the law. He thought it was a bluffing propaganda of the Church of the Stars, but he didn't expect that they could really punish those wrongdoing outer gods of the old days. This era belongs to the stars, and many beings know this, but when the stars have not appeared for a long time, many beings have forgotten this. Now, this scene is undoubtedly a wake-up call for all beings. The result of reckless behavior is that they are completely excluded from the initial barrier by the stars. As for whether to return to the starry sky, Russell estimated that the 3 outer gods of the old days clones just now were basically swallowed up. Because that small box should be the box of the old days mentioned in the holy book of the Church of the Stars. The box of the old ones, which is powerful enough to imprison the outer gods, is a prison left by the stars specifically for the outer gods. I believe that in this way, they will behave themselves for a while. Russell was in a good mood, but when he thought about the premise of the star enforcers' action just now, the outer gods wantonly destroyed a city with tens of thousands of lives, he sighed again. But he could only accept this result. At least now there are still stars that can withstand the huge pressure brought by the outer gods. Otherwise, this world will definitely be more chaotic and disorderly. Far away from Intis County, the lamp god and Bernadette, who had restrained their own breath, also watched this scene. Star Enforcer, the lamp god looked solemn, and whispered thoughtfully, "For you now, this is a good thing." Bernadette smiled slightly. As a believer of the stars, she naturally knew that there was such a law enforcement team in the Church of the Stars, which was specially used to check and balance those incarnations of the outer gods of the past, so as to prevent them from acting recklessly and plunging the whole world into chaos and turmoil. The stars watched everything, and the divine emblem bestowed by him had a part of the power to communicate with the Hall of the Stars. When the divine emblem of the stars soared into the sky and ushered in the brilliant starry sky, the bright starlight was the chain of law enforcement. Those reckless outer gods of the past will be punished as they should be under the watchful eyes of the stars, and become the growth nourishment of the box of the past. 2 years ago, a newly descended outer god's old incarnation could not control his greed and brutal nature, and madly devoured the residents of a small town, and turned thousands of miles of fertile soil into a vicious swamp full of dead bones. 2 days later, 3 star enforcers arrived, activated the star god emblem, and forcibly arrested the outer god's old incarnation hiding in the deep swamp and sent it to the box of the old. Such events are top secrets in the Church of the Stars, and it is difficult for outsiders to know, so they think that the Star Enforcers are just a department in name only. Are you also a member of the Star Enforcers? The lamp god asked curiously. Guess. Hey, I don't have that much free time. The lamp god curled his lips in disdain. I have never cared about the life and death of you humans, and bullying the weak is not my style. The existence of the Star Enforcers should worry about those guys who like to destroy the rules and order. Thinking of this, the lamp god chuckled, as if thinking of something interesting. You should praise the stars. Bernadette looked at the lamp god with a smile. The lamp god snorted lightly but didn't speak, muttering in his heart. The stars are becoming more and more unfathomable now. Every time he went to the Star Hall to attend the Star Conference, he could vaguely feel the chill from the stars that penetrated his soul. The stars have not yet been promoted to Sequence 0 and completely returned to the starry sky, right? Shouldn't he? He was not sure about the current state of the stars, and the same was true for the Mother Tree of Desire and the Super Star Overlord. The more he couldn't figure it out, the more he was afraid. Stars. 3 angry roars erupted in the depths of the starry sky, shaking the surrounding starry sky, as if it was about to collapse at any time. At this stage, if you want to pass through the initial barrier and enter the real world, you still need to pay a certain price. They made a deal with the fallen Mother Goddess to successfully send a clone to the ground. But now that their clones have been destroyed, they have been blacklisted by the stars, and it is not so easy to send another clone. Especially at this time, the Kingdom of Disorder is about to break free from the seal and appear in the world. Ha ha ha, you 3 brainless idiots, you've been used like mules for nothing, right? A gray chaotic mist spread out, forming a figure, and sneered at the 3 roaring outer gods of the past. Son of Chaos, you dare to appear here. Tear him apart. We can't get the Kingdom of Disorder, and we can't let him get it. The 3 outer gods of the past immediately united their front and pointed their spearheads at the Son of Chaos. Idiot, you guys want to get involved in my Kingdom of Disorder. The Son of Chaos sneered disdainfully, and his figure merged into the gray chaotic mist, quickly moving away into the depths of the starry sky. He was just here to taunt, not to fight. Cuckoo. A sinister voice sounded, and a huge black hole lay in front of the Son of Chaos, and the powerful devouring force was going to devour the Son of Chaos completely. Damn it, Lord of the Black Gate, why are you here to join in the fun? The Son of Chaos cursed while holding up the Golden Kingdom to resist this devouring power. I don't like you, fuck. The Son of Chaos didn't have time to curse with him. Behind him, the 3 outer gods who were pulled down caught up with him. All kinds of chaotic forces hit the back of the Son of Chaos fiercely, as if to smash the Son of Chaos into the black hole. This is not like the original barrier. You who have lost the Kingdom of Disorder, do you really think you are the original Son of Chaos? No matter how powerful the power of the stars is, it can only show off within the original barrier. This is the starry sky. Do you still think that the stars can save you from danger again? Facing all kinds of ridicule, the Son of Chaos suddenly laughed. This is the starry sky, and it is also the kingdom of the stars. Didn't you notice? The stars are walking in his kingdom of God. As soon as the words fell, the dark starry sky around was lit up by flames like weeds, and it became bright in an instant. The power of the stars gathered in an instant, connecting the nearby starry sky to form a kingdom of stars. A figure wandering from the distant starry sky walked calmly in the lit starry sky, strolling leisurely, as if walking in his kingdom of God. Stars. The 3 outer gods behind the Son of Chaos looked at each other, and did not force him to come, but chose to leave, avoiding the brilliance of the stars. The huge black hole in front also quietly dissipated into nothingness, clearing the way for the stars to move forward. Stars, what a coincidence, I didn't expect to meet here. The Son of Chaos smiled and greeted. He knew that the stars were lighting up the nearby starry sky, so he deliberately attracted these hostile outer gods and the old ones to scare them. The figures scattered in the starry sky did not stop because of the greeting of the Son of Chaos, and continued to move forward towards the starry sky that had not yet lit up. The Son of Chaos watched the figures of the stars disappear into the depths of the starry sky, and finally couldn't help whispering, "What state are the stars in now? Why do I feel more and more strange and scary?" After watching for a while, the Son of Chaos swept the surrounding starry sky with his eyes, chuckled, and chose to leave. There are more outer gods and the old ones who are paying attention to the stars in the entire starry sky. The fallen mother goddess, the ring of fate, the mother tree of desire. A series of existences with names are all paying attention to the movements of the stars. There were outer gods and the old ones who tried to intercept the stars, but the stars just passed by, no matter how dangerous the natural danger was. His figure seemed to be connected to the entire starry sky. With every breath, he had a great power added to him, making the outer gods and the old ones in the starry sky feel suppressed and restrained. After the star enforcers intervened, the entire Intis became much quieter. The outer gods did not destroy everything blatantly, but hid in the dark and added fuel to the flames. The outer gods who were able to stay in the original barrier for a long time had already summed up a way to get along with the stars. They created a church and used their influence to let human believers achieve their goals. In this process, the Star Church would not intervene, unless there was a large-scale massacre. About 10 days later, new anomalies began to appear in Cayster County. Waves of space ripples came from another isolated world like waves. A transparent and invisible world membrane seemed fragile, but it stood firm in front of the waves. Occasionally, some waves surged out, turning into black space cracks, swallowing up the people and things around them, and causing a series of mysterious events. Russell had evacuated the residents of Cayster County some time ago to avoid being affected by the appearance of the country of disorder. But the population of a county is more than 100,000. No matter how many people were evacuated, quite a few residents suffered from this unprovoked disaster. After the space ripples shook for several days, a country that was illusory, chaotic, disordered, and like a chaotic country, broke free from the ancient seal. The indescribable huge force impacted the real world and tried to squeeze in. The surging power made the whole land begin to shake and collapse, and the space was twisted and trembling. But under the double barrier of the seal of the heavenly venerable and the world barrier, it could never completely break free. The kingdom of disorder, which has only revealed a tip of the iceberg, has attracted the gazes of hidden beings from all sides. At the initial crack in the barrier, the god of steam and machinery was standing in his kingdom, overlooking the place where the kingdom of disorder appeared. His eyes did not show joy for the emergence of the source, but only worry. If the kingdom of disorder really escapes the seal of the Lord of Mystery, then the entire Republic of Intis is likely to be torn into pieces by the forces that all parties are fighting for. Although the stars are overlooking everything, he should not intervene in this matter. Before the kingdom of disorder appeared, he had consulted with the goddess of night and the mother goddess of the earth, but they all said that they would not intervene too much in this matter and would only take action at the right time. This means that only himself and Russell can protect the Republic of Intis. And their power is far from enough. Russell, it seems that you need to build Intis again. The god of steam and machinery sighed and continued to pay attention to the development of the situation below. As the kingdom of disorder began to impact the seal, it wanted to reach the real world. Terransost, who had secretly become a god before, was also secretly watching the development of the situation, his eyes filled with uncontrollable passion. The kingdom of disorder is the necessary source for the final promotion to the old ones through the judgment and Black Emperor paths. Although this source once belonged to the Son of Chaos, now he can only descend as a clone, and he himself is a complete sequence zero. His chance is great. Go, break the seal, and descend in full. Terransost was so eager, and soon, he sensed the breath of the old ones of the outer gods arriving here. He quickly concealed his breath, turned into an ordinary book, and hid on a desk in a resident's house to avoid being discovered by those old ones of the outer gods. In this battle for the kingdom of disorder, he and the Son of Chaos are the two most likely to be targeted. Clear the field. A sound like a thunderous explosion rolled across the nearby thousands of miles of territory. We must not let the Son of Chaos get close to here, otherwise we will have no chance. Let's attack together. The humans here have almost been evacuated, and the stars should not take this opportunity to intervene. The unconcealed conversation was accompanied by the howling of the wind. An outer god old day hidden in the black fog actually moved all the nearby human residents who had not yet evacuated to the vicinity of Trier, the capital of Intis. Several other outer god old days also followed his example and moved the residents of the entire Caister County to the capital Trier, completely clearing out the human life here. Would the outer god old day actually sympathize with human creatures as small as ants? Such an absurd scene stems from their fear of the stars. Russell, who was watching secretly, finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although the actions of the outer god old days would cause the capital Trier to fall into a temporary panic, it might be worth it to save so many Intis people. For this reason, Russell quickly transformed his own Roger Gustav clone to return to Trier and cooperate with the Steam Church to deal with this incident in time. As the residents of Caister County evacuated, more and more outer gods began to release their auras without scruples, and tacitly blocked all areas near the Kingdom of Disorder to prevent the Sons of Chaos from sneaking in. Damn it, which bastard hid in the dark to organize this? The lamp god, who still existed in the form of a wishing lamp, began to jump up and down and curse. Although the Kingdom of Disorder once belonged to him, it has not yet completely escaped the seal. In addition, he is only a clone. If he wants to take control again, it will only be possible if the situation becomes chaotic. But now, those outer gods actually restrained their greed and desires, abided by the rules set by someone, and waited for the Kingdom of Disorder to appear in peace and tacit understanding. Be patient, they are waiting for you to show up, Bernadette reminded. I know, the lamp god said angrily, I just feel aggrieved. If my real body can come, they have no chance to compete with me. Bernadette just glanced at the lamp god and said nothing. As time passed, the disordered country's impact on the seal gradually stopped. It was ultimately unable to escape the seal of the Lord of Mysteries and could only descend partially. If I call, perhaps the disordered country can be completely freed from the seal. The lamp god hesitated. If he took action, he would be targeted first. By then, not to mention helping the disordered country escape the seal, even his own clone would have to die here. When you are hesitant, you might as well look up. Bernadette's tone was still very calm. Look up. The lamp god looked up as he was told and found that the sky, which was originally daytime, gradually dimmed without knowing when, and scattered stars began to emerge. For a while, the lamp god thought a lot and finally gave up the tempting idea of letting the disordered country completely escape the seal. The stars, although they did not care about the commotion caused by the disordered country, would never allow the disordered country to appear completely at this time. Otherwise, the doomsday in the prophecy would most likely come early, because he was not will. His true body was outside the initial barrier. If he took control of the entire country of disorder, the impact from both inside and outside would likely break the increasingly fragile initial barrier. The stars would never allow this. The stars did not object to him regaining control of the country of disorder, but he needed to wait until the end of the world. This is the attitude of the stars, and also his will. The reason why Bernadette reminded him of this was to let him understand the stars' thoughts. Follow the will of the stars. It seems that it is difficult for me to surpass him. The lamp god sighed heavily. When he needs to obey the will of the stars and follow the rules set by the stars, it is difficult for him to surpass the stars. For you, it is not necessarily a bad thing. Bernadette looked at the starry sky with longing, whispering, now it belongs to the stars, and the future may not be so. The lamp god remained silent, and after calming down, he gradually understood the intention of the bastard Tianzun. He wanted to calculate himself again. If he could not resist the temptation and appeared to call the country of disorder to completely break the seal, then he would definitely be sent outside the initial barrier by the stars before obtaining the country of disorder. At that time, I, who made the kingdom of disorder appear completely, will become the first outer god old day to be eliminated. The kingdom of disorder will surely fall into the hands of other outer god old days. I will also break with the stars because of this, indirectly weakening the power of the stars. Without the help of the lamp god, the kingdom of disorder cannot break through the seal and appear completely. Although the chaotic and disorderly power continues to impact the cracks of contact, it can never cross the last step. The outer gods' old days waited for a while, but still did not see the lamp god appear. The greed in their hearts could no longer be restrained. Each of them exerted their own power and ability to try to plunder the fortune from the appearance of the kingdom of disorder this time. Some wanted to force the kingdom of disorder to be accommodated across the seal, and some wanted to follow the cracks caused by the impact of the kingdom of disorder into the seal of the Lord of Mystery to find other source substances. At first, everything was peaceful, but soon, conflicts broke out. No one wanted to let the other party achieve their wishes, and they checked and balanced each other. Both Trunsost and the lamp god felt that their chance had come. But as soon as they revealed their own aura, a figure hidden in the depths of space revealed their hiding place. High-dimensional overlooker, you bastard. The lamp god cursed angrily, and then hurriedly withdrew, but was blocked by the high-dimensional overlooker. The outer gods who were fighting for the kingdom of disorder restrained their desires and pointed their spears at the lamp god. Compared with the popular lamp god, Trunsoest has quietly approached the area where the kingdom of disorder borders the real world. Seeing the kingdom of disorder that has already revealed a corner inside the transparent seal, Trunsoest can no longer suppress the instinct of gathering in his body. He couldn't help but step forward and try to touch the source of the kingdom of disorder that happened to come here. Stupid. A voice with a hint of disdain bloomed in Trunsoest's ears, and he felt a piercing chill. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.